Chapter 2339. False Reincarnation Cleave. Die. The experts from Zhuge family and Xiang family were on a killing spree and clearly in higher spirits than those from the Lin family. Even though the Lin family had reversed her predicament in terms of divine demon realm battle strength, there were still huge differences between both parties' half-step divine demons and chaotic realms. It was especially so since Lin Mansion had lost several experts at the beginning of the intense battle. Furthermore, some experts hired by Lin Mansion had escaped when they started noticing things weren't going their way. Therefore, the Lin Mansion was at a greater disadvantage in terms of half-step divine demons and chaotic realms than expected. In battle, it was common to see 2 to 3 similar cultivation-based cultivators attacking one Lin Mansion expert. The only advantage Lin Mansion had was the additional chaotic divine demon. The Zhuge family had arranged for 4 half-step divine demon to team up against him. This made it impossible for the additional chaotic divine demon to break away. Even though those from the Lin Mansion had seen hope and had reignited their fighting spirits, the situation on the ground wasn't changing. 1. Jian Wushuang was like a bow and the blood mountain sword in his hand was like the arrow as he thrust it out. The razor-sharp sword light clashed against the volcano-like fists of that burly old man. The overbearing force from the collision forced Jian Wushuang and that burly old man a step back. The next instant, Jian Wushuang moved and vanished creepily from sight. When he showed himself again, he was right next to the blue-haired lady and swinging his sword silently towards her. He had shown his mastery in sword principle. Even though he was facing 3 chaotic divine demons, he wasn't losing in any aspect. While fighting, he had seen the situations in other areas. He could tell the huge differences between both parties on the battlefield that couldn't be made up for. In terms of overall strength, the differences are too huge. Even if I kill Zhuge Yun and hold back 3 chaotic divine demons, it will probably not reverse the eventual defeat that awaits the Lin family. There's no other way. I have to take a further step. A cold, ruthless light gleamed in his eyes as he glanced at that blue-haired lady. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang's figure appeared before their eyes once again. The 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiang family started out with the intention to kill Jian Wushuang. However, as the battle progressed, they were getting more and more fearful. And now they weren't even confident of defeating Jian Wushuang in battle, let alone killing him. Is this brat really just an early-stage chaotic realm? The burly old man growled. He had never seen an early-stage chaotic realm that could knock him back with a single sword strike. Regardless, this brat has chosen to stand against our Xiang family. If our Xiang family can't erase him this time and he takes note of it, no one will be able to save our Xiang family, not even the Golden Cauldron sect. Xiang Zong roared. Kill him. We need a plan to kill him. The blue-haired lady remarked. How do we do it? The burly old man glanced at the blue-haired lady. The blue-haired lady and Xiang Zong quieted down. Yeah, how could they kill him? They weren't even confident about defeating him currently. How were they going to kill him? Moreover, they could tell Jian Wushuang had an extremely profound understanding of the spacetime rules of order that even an ordinary 3rd-grade divine demon wouldn't possess. In fact, even 2nd-grade divine demon might not be at this level of attainment. With his grasp of spacetime rules of order, no one probably could stop him if he intended to escape, not even with all the divine demon realm experts teaming up. At this juncture, shocking killing intent raged out from the eyes of Jian Wushuang. Immediately after, Jian Wushuang disappeared creepily before their eyes. Yes, he vanished. At the very least, they couldn't see him with their naked eyes. Even if they used their soul powers, they would barely catch a glimpse of an eerie figure. When Jian Wushuang showed himself again, he was next to the burly old man. Moreover, he slashed at the head of the burly old man at a speed that was incredibly fast. Be careful. Xiang Zong shouted as a warning. Brat, don't be too full of yourself. The burly old man erupted and his scorching red right hand smashed towards Jian Wushuang like an active giant volcano. The direct clash of the volcano and the sword shadow didn't cause any collision of strength. That sword shadow disappeared together with Jian Wushuang before the watchful eyes of the trio. That's an illusion? The burly old man was stumped. An illusion left behind with spacetime rules of order? Xiang Zong was equally astonished. However, his expression darkened instantly. Shit. When Xiang Zong reacted, he looked at where the blue-haired lady was. Indeed, Jian Wushuang was right in front of the blue-haired lady. At the same time, Jian Wushuang swung out his sword. Reincarnation sword principle, false. Reincarnation cleave. A blurry sword light lit up and sliced towards the blue-haired lady. The sword light was unusually fast, to the point that almost no one could react to it on time. However, the blue-haired lady was a chaotic divine demon after all. Although the sudden appearance of Jian Wushuang gave her a huge shock, she reacted immediately. She thrusted the long spear forward and wanted to block the blurry sword light that had been launched by Jian Wushuang. Her eyes were fixed on that sword light. I can make it. I can stop it. The blue-haired lady thought to herself. She could see her spear was in time to block that sword light. Just as expected, the black long spear went before that blurry sword light. Instantly, the blue-haired lady was at ease. The sword light had sliced her. As a chaotic divine demon, her holy body was extremely tough. However, it wasn't sufficient to stop this attack. In a single strike, her holy body collapsed and her consciousness was fading. Before it had even vanished completely, she was completely lost. Impossible. I did stop it. I stopped that sword strike. The blue-haired lady wanted to scream but couldn't enunciate her words. Soon, all signs of life deserted her. Even in death, the blue-haired lady couldn't understand how she had been killed by that strike. She had stopped that sword strike. At the very least, that's what she believed. In reality, she hadn't. False reincarnation cleave. Illusory and unfathomable. Jian Wushuang remained scarily cold while staring at the despairing blue-haired lady. It had been 19 years since he had been reincarnated. In those 19 years, he hadn't just been thinking of ways to recover to his cultivation base. In addition, his understanding of rules of order and advancements in sword principle had not lagged behind. On the contrary, they had improved by leaps and bounds. For example, in the aspect of spacetime rules of order, he had made significant breakthroughs compared to in his previous life. He was just about able to create illusions using spacetime rules of order. Even though they were illusions and some experts could see through them with a single glance, it was more than sufficient to fool an ordinary chaotic divine demon. Moreover, in the aspect of the spacetime sword principle, he had created his first move, Snow Cleave. Chapter 2340, Defeat. Jian Wushuang's improvement in the aspect of spacetime had been rapid. However, his understanding of reincarnation rules of order in his previous life was even greater. Moreover, he had been through the reincarnation passage and been reincarnated. This had let him experience the mystery of reincarnation and was of unbelievable great help in his understanding of the reincarnation rules of order. As a result, his grasp of the reincarnation rules of order was the greatest it had ever been. His application of reincarnation power was several times stronger than in his previous life. In the aspect of sword principle, he had created the first move of reincarnation sword principle, the Samsara. At 19 years old, he had created the second move. The second move was none other than the false reincarnation cleave. This was a sword principle that infused the reincarnation power. This move wasn't just strong. The more important thing was the illusion within the sword principle. The sword principle was the sword shadow that the blue-haired lady had seen previously. She had thought she could block that sword shadow with her long spear and she could have succeeded. However, unbeknownst to her, it was just an illusory shadow. The real strike was hidden before the illusion. A completely invisible strike. It was that strike that had killed the blue-haired lady. This blue-haired lady was the second chaotic divine demon that Jian Wushuang had killed in this battle. This time, he had done so when he was going up against 3 chaotic divine demons at the same time. How can this be possible? This Xiang Zong and the burly old man were shocked. They had seen with their own eyes how Jian Wushuang had killed the blue-haired lady and yet there was nothing they could do. Now, after killing the blue-haired lady, Jian Wushuang's cold gaze locked down on them. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang struck once again. This time his target was the burly old man. A brilliant sword light illuminated the area. That brilliant sword light was mesmerizing and intoxicating. When he swung out that strike, even the void space was affected as ripples reverberated through. The surrounding spacetime seemed to have come to a halt at that moment. Spacetime sword principle, Snow Cleave. Arga. The burly old man exploded with rage and punched relentlessly. However, the sword light that Jian Wushuang had released was exceptionally strange. It flashed past his fist and landed on his holy body directly. The burly old man was strong in offense and incredible with his holy body. However, after taking this strike, he spewed a large mouthful of blood and his complexion paled instantly. Fortunately, he wasn't killed directly by Jian Wushuang. Retreat. Retreat now. Xiang Zong shouted in a hurry. The burly old man wasn't silly. In the first instant, he retreated frantically and opened up a distance from Jian Wushuang. Moreover, he quickly met up with Xiang Zong. Both of them had fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang from a long distance away. The burly old man was at a loss for words. Moments ago, he had killed that blue-haired lady with a single swing. Now he was injured in a single strike? How strong was he? He's too strong? Perhaps his battle prowess has not reached the level of a second-grade divine demon. His sword principle is even more frightening than any second-grade divine demon I've seen, Xiang Zong commented. Both of them were shocked and wouldn't dare to make a move on Jian Wushuang again. As for Jian Wushuang, he stared daggers at them. The next moment he charged into the battle beside him. The battle between the half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts was reaching a critical stage. Lin Mansion was clearly at an absolute disadvantage. One could even say they were doomed for destruction. Each Lin Mansion's expert had to face 2 or 3 experts of similar level at the same time. For example, Jian Wushuang's father had to face 2 half-step divine demons. Looking at the situation, defeat seemed to be set in stone. However, Jian Wushuang had appeared now. First, he appeared above Zhui Yunfeng and a blinding sword light illuminated the area. The half-step divine demons that were engaged in an intense battle with Zhui Yunfeng couldn't escape in time before the blinding light penetrated their bodies and killed them. Immediately after, Jian Wushuang vanished. Xiu, 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 xiu. Sword lights were appearing across several battles in the Lin Mansion. Jian Wushuang's movement was extremely unique. Each time he vanished and reappeared, a sword light shot out. No one could stop the sword light. Regardless if it was chaotic realm experts or half-step divine demons, no one could take a strike from Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was killing an expert with each swing. After several dozen cycles of vanishing and reappearing, he swung out several dozen strikes and killed several dozen experts from Zhuge family and Xiang family. All of this happened in several instances and took no longer than a single breath of time. Within a single breath of time he killed several dozen experts. If this carried on, retreat. Everyone from the Xiang family, retreat immediately. Xiang Zong gave his orders instantly. His face was flushed as he shouted to rush the experts from Xiang family. At the same time he was filled with fear. Monster. This brat is definitely a monster. He isn't a simple monster and not just a god of death. The speed he is killing at is too fast. In several moments, several dozens of experts have fallen. My Xiang Zong accounted for 1/3 of the casualties. If we allow him to carry on slaughtering, our Xiang family will definitely be annihilated by them. Even we might not survive. The burly old man was shocked. If this was the case for the mighty chaotic divine demon, the half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts were probably scared out of wits. When they heard the orders from Xiang Zong, those in the Xiang family chose to escape without hesitation. All of them were retreating rapidly, fearing they would be targeted by the god of death. The Xiang family retreated from the battle under the leadership of Xiang Zong and the burly old man. This left the remaining Zhuge family completely flustered. Damn it! Damn it! Zhuge Yuanchong roared furiously and couldn't vent the endless anger that was within him. However, as the leader of a family and a divine demon realm expert, he knew what the most important thing was at that time. With Xiang family evacuating, Zhuge family could still have an advantage in the number of half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts. However, as Jian Wushuang continued his indiscriminate slaughtering, this advantage was being chipped away. If they continued like this, Zhuge Yuanchong was certain that the doomsday of the Zhuge family would arrive soon. Evacuate. Evacuate now. Zhuge Yuanchong swung his hand and retreated through the air outside of Lin Mansion. The remaining experts from the Zhuge family and those few from Dongzhou sect didn't hesitate. In just moments, numerous experts that had fought their way into Lin Mansion had been erased cleanly, leaving just their corpses behind. Chapter 2341. Center of attention in the Lin Mansion, corpses were everywhere and blood stained the entire ground. In fact, even the sky was tinted a shade of red. The pungent smell of blood was nauseating and filled every corner in the Lin Mansion. The blood that was shed could have formed a river. Luckily, the killings had stopped in the Lin Mansion. At the top of a building, 2 chaotic realm experts from the Lin Mansion looked down at the surrounding scene. They couldn't help but pale. Who would have thought that we would survive this time, and that our Lin Mansion would manage to stop the joint attack from the Zhuge family and Xiang family? I couldn't believe it either. When the Xiang family showed up, I thought our Lin family was over. Yet, both of them remained silent but turned to face the same direction at the same time. It wasn't just the 2 of them. The various Lin Mansion's experts that survived were all looking in the same direction. In the air, a man was standing. A young man who looked way younger than the rest and was carrying a sword. He stood there coldly and the aura around him was kept in check perfectly. He didn't say a word but the atmosphere froze. Everything around him lost its luster. The entire Lin mansion was shrouded in deathly silence. If there was a sound, it was the trickle of fresh blood that was dripping off the long sword carried by the young man. The crowd felt unprecedented shock and fear. Shock because he had displayed a strength that didn't match his age. Fear because he had committed a massacre within that short period. Everything had happened in a moment. Within 2 breaths of time, over 40 experts from the Zhuge family and Xiang family had died in his hands. In comparison, the total number of experts from the Xiang family and Zhuge family that had died over the entire battle was only 60. Among those that were killed, 2 dead chaotic divine demons were killed by that young man with the sword. He's no different from the god of death. A half-stepped divine demon exclaimed. However, he shut his mouth for good immediately after. The other experts from the Lin mansion gasped in astonishment. They knew Jianghu Shuang. It was also because they knew him that it was so hard for them to accept it. They knew Jianghu Shuang was just 19 this year. No matter how talented an ordinary cultivator was, it would be incredible to exchange blows with a chaotic realm. What about Jianghu Shuang? Killing peak chaotic realms was like killing chickens to him. Killing half-step divine demons was like slaughtering dogs to him. He had even killed chaotic divine demons. How unbelievable was that? Senior Sister Hua. The 2 half-step divine demons from Thunder Sound sect gathered beside Fire Fairy. One of them wanted to say something but ended up keeping quiet. I know what you guys are thinking. I'm feeling the same way. It's unbelievable. Fire Fairy commented and felt unprecedentedly astonished by Jianghu Shuang. Senior Sister Hua, you are more experienced and knowledgeable about the talented disciples in Thunder Sound sect. Could the few most demon-like disciples in our Thunder Fire sect be a match for him? The person asked. Match him? What rights do our disciples have to compare with him? Fire Fairy forced out a bitter smile. He's an early-stage chaotic realm that has reached great achievement in Sword Principle, mastering spacetime rules of order and reincarnation rules of order. Moreover, his grasp is extremely profound. It is especially so regarding the reincarnation rules of order. If I'm right, his understanding of reincarnation rules of order could even match a first-grade divine demons. More importantly, he could easily kill a chaotic divine demon when he's just an early-stage chaotic realm. There won't be a second unprecedented monster like him in the entire Wuxia Baron region, let alone our Thunder Sound sect. His talents are just like his name suggests. Unparalleled in the world. At the very least, no one in the Wuxia Baron region could be a match for his talents. Fire Fairy was extremely solemn as she spoke. Although this was just her appraisal of Jianghu Shuang, she was certain she hadn't exaggerated at all. Within the Wuxia Baron region, it was impossible to find a second person that could be compared with Jianghu Shuang. Even in the greater absolute beginning divine world, one might not find a similar monster to him, let alone in the Wuxia Baron region. The 2 half-step divine demons from Thunder Fire sect gulped down their saliva upon hearing Fire Fairy. They couldn't keep their composure any longer. Center of attention. Jianghu Shuang was undoubtedly the focus of everyone. However, he looked extremely calm before the watchful eyes of the crowd. He had killed lots of people in this battle. One could even say he had started a massacre. However, the number of people he had killed over close to 100,000 years in his previous life easily dwarfed his kills today. A massacre like this was nothing and wouldn't affect his emotions at all. With this, the battle had concluded. He was still looking icy cold and remained exceptionally calm. He put away his Blood Mountain sword in his Chenkuan ring before looking for his father and went towards him. Father. Jianghu Shuang looked at Zhui Yunfeng and extended his soul power. He realized Zhui Yunfeng had only suffered light injuries and wouldn't be in any danger. It was then that he felt relieved. As for Zhui Yunfeng, he was staring blankly at Jianghu Shuang. He was feeling a myriad of emotions. There was fear, ecstasy, and disbelief. Was this young man before him really his son? Killing peak chaotic realm and half-step divine demons like he was slaughtering chickens and dogs? Was this young man who killed 2 powerful chaotic divine demons really his son? Since when had his son grown to be so powerful? Father, if you are all right, let's head for the Purple Virtue Hall first. Mother should be feeling really anxious now, said Jianghu Shuang. Yeah, you are right. It was then that Zhui Yunfeng reacted. Let's go. We will look for your mother at Purple Virtue Hall first. Upon finishing his words, Zhui Yunfeng and Jianghu Shuang headed towards Purple Virtue Hall. Brother Zhuo Wushuang, in his tone that was slight fear and respect. The one who spoke was none other than the family head of the Lin family, Lin Taifeng. Lin Taifeng was an elite third-grade divine demon. However, even he was astounded by the strength Jianghu Shuang had shown. Uncle Lin, we are going to see my mother at Purple Virtue Hall first. Let's talk in detail later, said Jian Wushuang. All right. You should. Lin Taifeng nodded and wouldn't interfere. Jian Wushuang and Zhui Yunfeng left the place. However, those that were part of the intense battle previously were still feeling stupefied. They couldn't react fully to the situation. Chapter 2342, Gratitude 1. The door to the hall opened and two figures darted in. Those two were naturally Jian Wushuang and Zhui Yunfeng. Husband Shuang. Seeing the two approaching figures, Luo Xinqin finally heaved a sigh of relief. She felt joy and rushed over. Xinqin, we are fine. We are fine now. Zhui Yunfeng hurried forward and put his arms over Luo Xinqin. Before the crowd, Luo Xinqin quickly broke free and walked towards Jian Wushuang. Shuang, are you all right? Mother, rest assured. Although father has suffered light injuries, it shouldn't be a major issue. As for me, I'm not injured, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. That's great. That's great. Luo Xinqin finally felt at ease. Everyone. Jian Wushuang surveyed his surroundings and still saw many disciples and family members who were anxious and worried. He shouted in a hearty tone, those from the Zhuge family are defeated. Lin Mansion is fine now. We are fine now? Did we make it? Yes. The commotion has died down. The battle is over. Ah, I knew it. The meager Zhuge family definitely couldn't do anything to our Lin family. Ecstasy took over and many young disciples even jumped for joy. Since the beginning of the battle, they had been living in fear. They had been fearful that they couldn't take the attacks of the Zhuge family and that their last resort would be to escape from Lin Mansion. However, it appeared that they wouldn't have to go to that stage. As such, they were naturally overjoyed. However, some chaotic realm around knew the series of events of the battle. Therefore, when they looked at Jian Wushuang, they were grateful and respectful. Jian Wushuang took a glance at Lin Tao and the man in black attire. Immediately, they looked over and greeted Jian Wushuang. Thinking back, they hadn't seen Jian Wushuang as anything when they'd first seen him. Although both of them had remained in the Purple Virtue Hall as guards throughout the battle today, they were aware of the entire battle through their soul power. They knew clearly the reason why the Lin family still existed after this battle and the people in the Purple Virtue Hall wouldn't have to go to their last resort. It was because of this man before them who was even younger than them. To think they had looked down on Jian Wushuang previously. With his own strength, he had forcefully turned the tables around and killed two divine demon realm experts. Moreover, within 2 breaths of time, he had massacred dozens of experts and sent chills down the spines of the experts from the two families. It was because of this that Lin Mansion remained intact now. Regardless of his talents or strength, Lin Tao, the man in black attire whom everyone had seen in the battle with their soul power, was impressed and convinced. Father, mother. Let's leave this place, said Jian Wushuang. Yeah. Zhui Yunfeng nodded his head. Soon, the family of 3 left Purple Virtue Hall and headed for the courtyard in which they were living. As for the rest of the Lin family, they cleaned up the mess of the major battle. Although the Lin family had survived this grueling battle, lots of experts had fallen. The Lin Mansion didn't celebrate wildly. All that was left was a bitterly cold environment. This had nothing more to do with Jian Wushuang. At night, the Lin Mansion went quiet. The corpses of experts and the river of blood that ran through Lin Mansion had been cleaned up. Many experts of Lin Mansion and a few from Thunder Sound Sect along with some invited experts had gathered in the meeting hall for a discussion. In the previous meeting, Lin Yin had dragged Jian Wushuang to an inconspicuous corner. In that corner, he hadn't have any rights to speak up. However, in the meeting just a few days later, Jian Wushuang was seated at the very front, next to his father, Zhui Yunfeng. As for Fire Fairy from Thunder Sound Sect, she sat opposite Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang took his seat, everyone's attention focused on him. This included people like Fire Fairy. They had a deep curiosity for this unbelievable, unprecedented monster. They wanted to know how Jian Wushuang could kill chaotic divine demons when he was just an early-stage chaotic realm. Moreover, he had killed 2 chaotic divine demons. Nonetheless, they kept their thoughts to themselves and no one dared to take the initiative to ask the question. When everyone had arrived, Lin Taifeng stood up, clasped his fist to his palm and announced solemnly, "This time, Lin Mansion is grateful for everyone's help in the face of the major crisis. It is because of you guys that we made it out. I'm truly grateful. It is especially so for Fire Fairy and others from Thunder Sound Sect, and also Mad Lion." Lin Taifeng thanked them individually. "You are too courteous. In this battle, our Thunder Sound Sect wasn't of much help," said Fire Fairy. She was just being humble. Although the main credit was owed to Jian Wushuang, her Thunder Sound sect had contributed greatly. I've received your fees and naturally have to fulfill your request. Lin family head, you just have to give me the remuneration as promised. Anything else will be unnecessary. Mad Lion had a different attitude towards this. Mad Lion, you can be assured that my Lin family won't give anything less. Lin Taifeng chuckled and looked towards Zhui Yunfeng and Jian Wushuang. He took a deep breath and became visibly more serious than before. Brother Zhua and my dear nephew. The main reason why my Lin mansion has survived is because of your help. I, Lin Taifeng, and my Lin family will never forget this gratitude. Please accept my thanks. Upon finishing his words, Lin Taifeng bowed towards Zhui Yunfeng and Jian Wushuang before the crowd. Brother Lin, this won't do. Please get up. Zhui Yunfeng hurried forward to help Lin Taifeng up. You and I are brothers in life and death. When your Lin family is in danger, it's only natural for me to help out. There's no need for this. Yeah. Uncle Lin, this is just a small matter. Don't worry about it, Jian Wushuang added. I won't dwell on this. Lin Taifeng shook his head and added, from today onwards, my Lin family and I will never hesitate in anything you request as long as it is something within our means. Brother Lin, you are being too courteous again. Zhui Yunfeng was visibly a little discontented. Ah. Lin Taifeng laughed heartily. As for Jian Wushuang, he had a strange expression. I still require lots of cultivation resources for my Punisher God. Although I asked my father, I still couldn't get everything I needed. As for the Lin family, Jian Wushuang had an idea sprouting in his mind. Chapter 2343, The Invitation from the Thunder Sound Sect in the Meeting Hall. Brother Lin, what are the losses for this battle? Asked Zhui Yunfeng. At the talk of losses, Lin Taifeng's expression darkened instantly. After some time, he heaved a sigh and said, the Lin family's losses this time are huge. Almost half of all half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts have fallen. Nearly half. Everyone in the hall gasped but soon understood the reason. Indeed, this battle had been too brutal. It was so even before Jian Wushuang made a move. The parties weren't equal from the beginning and the Lin family could only rely on having a greater number of weaker chaotic realms to make up the difference in strength. This undoubtedly increased the losses. If Jian Wushuang had been a tad slower, few half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts would remain. However, this wasn't really the fault of Jian Wushuang as he had stepped in at a rather early stage. At least, it seemed that way to him. After all, he had lots of considerations to make. His greatest concern was the huge ruckus he knew he'd cause once he got involved. At that time, numerous sects and experts in the Wuxia Baron region had had their eyes on him. This wasn't something that he wanted. If it had just been an ordinary relationship, he wouldn't have stepped in. It was only because he had some connections with the Lin mansion and his father was clearly friends of life and death with the Lin family that he had stepped in. However, he had now been pushed into the limelight. Wuxia Baron region is just a deserted and inconspicuous area. It shouldn't be an issue even if I'm a little famous here. The high and mighty masters of Holy Land in the absolute beginning divine world and other supreme experts won't pay attention to a small place like this. Nonetheless, I should keep a low profile. It's a shame that I can't do so even if I want to after this battle. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. In the hall, everyone was feeling sorry about the Lin family's losses. After this battle, my Lin family has suffered greatly. Most likely we won't recover in a short period. Fortunately, my Lin family did not suffer any losses in terms of divine demon realm experts. As long as we have 2 divine demon realm experts stationed here, my Lin family will still be one of the 6 elite families in Anjiu Prefecture, Lin Taifeng remarked. Also, although my Lin family has suffered huge losses, Zhuge family and Xiang family aren't in much better shape. Their losses won't be lower than ours. Furthermore, both of them have lost a divine demon realm expert each. For them, this is definitely a huge blow. After incurring such losses, they won't attack my Lin family again unless they are putting everything at stake. The surrounding crowd nodded in agreement. Within Anjiu Prefecture, there wasn't just the Lin family, Zhuge family and Xiang family. The other 3 families had been observing the rest carefully. This time, the other 3 families hadn't made a move during the intense battle between the 3 families. This was because they wouldn't have stood to gain from it. However, with the 3 families incurring huge losses, if their conflict escalated further, the other 3 families would reap the most benefits by keeping out of it. Although the 2 families will start a war with my Lin family in the short term, they will definitely resent my Lin family. Also, Lin Taifeng looked at Jian Wushuang. Nephew Wushuang, this crisis is on my Lin family. However, it's because of your interference that the 2 families went home in defeat. Moreover, their losses are largely your doing. Therefore, the two families will definitely pin the blame on you and will even target you. Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow and wasn't surprised by it. On the other hand, Zhui Yunfeng became gloomy. Sensing the change in expression on Zhui Yunfeng, Lin Taifeng said, "Brother Zhua, you won't have to worry too much about it. Nephew Wushuang's strength is clear for all to see. Regardless of if it is the Zhuge family or the Xiang family, they will have to think carefully if they want to make a move on nephew Wushuang. Moreover, you guys are still in my Lin mansion. If the two families dare to charge in, my Lin family will fight alongside nephew Wushuang even if it means death. Even so, Zhuge family and Xiang family have been in Anzhou prefecture for a very long time. Their backgrounds are extremely deep. Zhuge family is still manageable. The key is Xiang family. That's one of the most ancient and most powerful families in Anzhou prefecture. If Shuang is targeted by the Xiang family," Zhui Yunfeng frowned deeply. "Governor Zhua, this is a really easy thing to handle. I have a solution in mind." The sudden voice came from Fire Fairy, who was opposite of Jian Wushuang. "May I know what Fire Fairy has in mind?" asked Zhui Yunfeng. "It's really simple. With his talent and potential, all the sects in Wuxia Baron region, including the most elite sects, will be free for him to choose from if he wants to join one. In fact, those elite sects might even be willing to pay a high price to recruit him. He could just join one of them and all of this would be solved. He could even request that sect to annihilate the Zhuge family and Xiang family on his behalf. I believe those sects won't reject him," said Fire Fairy. "Good idea." Zhui Yunfeng's eyes lit up. Everyone in the hall nodded in agreement. Clearly they felt Fire Fairy was being reasonable. With Jian Wushuang's talents, it couldn't be easier for him to get into some powerful sections. With their protection, the two families in Anzhou prefecture wouldn't be able to do anything to Jian Wushuang. Fire Fairy looked at Jian Wushuang and became humble in attitude and tone. She was a chaotic divine demon and a core disciple of Thunder Sound sect, but she couldn't put on any airs before Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, our Thunder Sound sect might not be an elite sect in the Wuxia Baron region, but we have a long legacy. Over these years, talents have been sprouting up frequently in our Thunder Sound sect, and our influence in the Wuxia Baron region is getting wider and deeper. If you are willing, I can take you to Thunder Sound sect personally. Moreover, I can assure you that my sect master will take you in and guide you personally. Once you become a chaotic divine demon, you can even take over as the new sect master of our Thunder Sound sect. Jian Wushuang, are you willing?" Fire Fairy looked at Jian Wushuang in anticipation. The surrounding crowd was stumped upon hearing Fire Fairy. They had to admit that the conditions given by Fire Fairy were truly enticing. Although the Thunder Sound sect couldn't be considered a top-notch sect, Jian Wushuang would be personally taught by the sect master. Moreover, he would be the next sect master once he became a chaotic divine demon and enjoy great powers. It was a really enticing offer. To recruit Jian Wushuang, the Thunder Sound sect sure was willing to pay a high price. Chapter 2344. Jian Wushuang isn't ordinary. Even Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. However, he laughed it off. "Fire Fairy, if I'm not wrong, you aren't within the highest level in the Thunder Sound sect and don't have any decision rights. Could you really make the decision for the sect leader of Thunder Sound sect to guide me personally and ensure I will become the new sect leader in the future?" "Of course I can." Fire Fairy stood up immediately and said solemnly, "As long as you are willing to return to Thunder Sound sect with me, you'll get whatever I've offered. In fact, it won't just end here. If you have any other requests, our Thunder Sound sect will also try to fulfill them. For example, if you are furious about Xiang family and Zhuge family, you could request our Thunder Sound sect to annihilate the two families. At that time, even if it meant going against the pact we have with other sects, we would still do it." What Fire Fairy was saying had not received the authorization from the highest level in the Thunder Sound sect. Nonetheless, she wasn't worried she had overpromised. This was because she knew Thunder Sound sect would see Jian Wushuang's talents and agree to do what was necessary. An ordinary talent or even an ordinary demon-like talent wouldn't be qualified to enjoy such privileges. However, Jian Wushuang would definitely be worth it. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. However, he still shook his head and said, "I'm sorry. I have no intention of joining any sect at this moment. Therefore, I regret to say I can't take you up on your goodwill." Hearing this, Fire Fairy couldn't help but be a little disappointed. However, she still forced a smile out and said, "It's all right. However, I hope you will consider this again. As long as you are willing to return to Thunder Sound sect with me, I can guarantee that we definitely won't mistreat you." "Yeah, I will think about it." Jian Wushuang was just paying lip service. This was also clear to the crowd, who knew he had no intention of joining Thunder Sound sect at all. Even if the largest sect in the Wuxia Barren region offered him the same terms, he wouldn't be moved, let alone Thunder Sound sect. For him, the Wuxia Barren region was just too minute. In the hall, the group continued discussing things for a while before leaving. At night, Zhui Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin were lying in bed. Both of them were still talking about the battle that had happened earlier in the day. Zhui Yunfeng told Luo Xinqin about Jian Wushuang's performance in the battlefield, including how Jian Wushuang killed Zhui Yunfeng, how he had killed another Divine Demon Realm expert and severely injured another after he had been cornered by 3 of them. Luo Xinqin was totally engrossed in the story until Zhui Yunfeng from beginning to end. Shuang killed 2 divine demons when he's just an early-stage chaotic realm? And he massacred a large number of half-step divine demons and peak chaotic realm experts? Now I understand why those people were looking at Shuang differently today, Luo Xinqin mumbled to herself. She was meticulous and hadn't missed the gazes that others had cast at Jian Wushuang. Yeah, Taoist priest Xianxin is right. Shuang is truly unparalleled in this world. Among all the talents I know, I have never seen anyone as incredible as our son, Zhui Yunfeng said with a bright smile. Clearly he was overjoyed with his son's performance. Husband, I don't think Shuang is that simple, Luo Xinqin said seriously. He isn't that simple? What do you mean? Zhui Yunfeng asked. Don't you think that our Shuang isn't that ordinary? Or rather, he's a little too demon-like? Luo Xinqin asked. A little too amazing? Zhui Yunfeng was astounded. Although I have never reached the chaotic divine demon realm and have never gotten into contact with one, I know clearly the impossibly huge difference in strength between a chaotic divine demon and a chaotic realm. If Shuang was a peak chaotic realm and successfully defeated or even killed a chaotic divine demon, who is just 1 level higher, I could still understand. However, Shuang is just an early-stage chaotic realm. It's unbelievable. Perhaps our Shuang is unique. I carried him for 9 years, 9 months and 9 days before he was born. Moreover, a divine sword descended from the sky at his birth. You could say there's never been such an incident before. Even so, it's unlikely he could be challenging all our senses of normality. Furthermore, just as you have mentioned, our Shuang's understanding of sword principle isn't simple. In fact, he has even reached great achievement. Moreover, his understanding in rules of order is unusually high and he has even grasped 2 rules of order. Think about it. Isn't it strange? You know how old Shuang is? No matter how incredible he is, how could he grasp rules of order to this extent that he'd already be so well versed in sword principle? Asked Luo Xinqin. When you put it like that, it is indeed a little strange. If Shuang's rapid advancement in cultivation base could be explained by his talents, and his understanding of sword principle could be explained by the divine sword that descended at his birth, his grasp of the rules of order is overly high. I heard from Brother Lin previously that Shuang's understanding of the rules of order is even greater than the majority of second-grade divine demons. Zhui Yunfeng furrowed his brows. Moreover, don't you think our Shuang has always been obedient and sensible since he was born? In fact, I would even say he's overly sensible, Luo Xinqin continued. That's true as well. Other than his constant refusal and stubbornness to not join other sects, he's been extremely obedient. Since he was very young, I have hardly scolded him. He's also a little more knowledgeable than kids of other families. Zhui Yunfeng nodded as he spoke. He's also way more mature than cultivators of his age. In fact, even you aren't a match for him, Luo Xinqin added. What? This time Zhui Yunfeng was truly astounded. Even him not a match? How can that be? What? You aren't willing to admit it? Luo Xinqin chuckled. You said it yourself. Shuang went on a killing spree today and didn't just kill 2 chaotic divine demons. He also killed a large number of half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts within an extremely short period. Yet, he was exceptionally calm and composed after that. Although I don't know what he was thinking, he wasn't showing any signs that he was affected. Tell me, could an ordinary 19-year-old be so calm after experiencing a frenzied massacre like this? If it had been you, are you sure you could have kept your emotions in check after killing 2 chaotic divine demons? This, Zhui Yunfeng was at a loss for words. However, he had to admit Jian Wushuang had been a little too composed today. After killing so many powerful experts, he gave off a feeling like he'd just been killing some ants. Zhui Yunfeng wasn't confident in himself having this level of composure. Chapter 2345. Luo Xinqin's conjecture. Xinqin, even if what you said is right, that his growth is full of mysteries and his maturity is way beyond an ordinary person's, what would this prove? Zhui Yunfeng was puzzled. Husband, I heard of a legend. Luo Xinxin looked to Zhui Yunfeng before continuing. It is said that the super-existence that stood at the top of our absolute beginning divine world is known as the Master of Holy Land. They have amazing means that can even shock the world. With a single thought, numerous experts can be annihilated. With a single sentence, trillions of divine demons will bow down in submission. Some even say they could communicate with heaven's will, reverse spacetime, and even resurrect the dead. Besides that, it is said that once someone reaches a certain level of strength and is facing limitations in making a further advancement, they can request the experts at the level of the Master of Holy Land to open up a reincarnation passage. From there, they will be reincarnated and reborn in this world. Reincarnated? Zhui Yunfeng was stupefied. You are saying our Shuang was sent back to this world by an expert that stands at the top of our absolute beginning divine world? That's just my guess, but I think it's very likely. From what I read in the ancient text, the explanation of reincarnation is that once the process is successful, one will lose all his strength and have to start cultivating from the very beginning. However, one will keep all the memories of the previous lifetime, including the rules of order and understanding of the sword principle that one has mastered. In other words, other than their cultivation base, other aspects of one's strength will remain at their peak state from the previous life. Under such circumstances, one can cultivate extremely quickly. This is because one won't face any bottleneck and just needs the accumulation of divine power. This can also explain why Shuang has been able to reach the chaotic realm in less than 20 years and why his understanding of sword principle and rules of order is so insanely high. As for why he can kill divine demon realm experts as an early-stage chaotic realm, it's also reasonable. This is because he might be an expert that stands at the top of absolute beginning divine world and have means that far exceed what we can imagine. Similarly, this might be the reason why he never wanted to join those sects when he was young. Those that you have chosen for him are just known within the Wuxia Baron region, and the strongest is only chaotic divine demon or an expert above this level. A sect like this won't attract the attention of Shuang, Luo Xinqin said. She was reasonable in her conjecture and extremely close to the truth. For example, it was a known fact that Jian Wushuang wasn't interested in those sections. However, what she didn't know was that Jian Wushuang wasn't reincarnated from the elite experts of absolute beginning divine world. He had only been at the peak chaotic realm in his previous life as well. In the end, he had only made the breakthrough to the chaotic divine demon after he had made his way to the reincarnation passage. Therefore, one wouldn't say he had had a high cultivation base in his previous life. The reason why he was so strong was because of his understanding of sword principle and rules of order. However, more importantly, it was because he was a perfect chaotic life form. No, I still can't believe this. Upon hearing Luo Xinqin, Zhui Yunfeng shook his head profusely. What you have said is just too mysterious. Master of Holy Land? An expert that is resurrected after death? Reincarnation? Those are just legends and might not be real. How can we be sure that Shuang is reincarnated from an elite expert with just these conjectures? This, I can't be sure as well. I'm just basing my conjecture on some observations. As for the aspects of reincarnation, I saw them in an ancient book. However, I'm not sure if the records are true or false. Perhaps I'm just overthinking. Luo Xinqin chuckled but turned serious suddenly. Regardless of if my guess is right or wrong, whether Shuang is the reincarnation of an expert, he's still my son. I carried him for 9 years, 9 months and 9 days before giving birth to him, and he calls me his mother. Yeah, regardless of the secrets surrounding him or if he truly has some incredible background, he's still our child and will always be. Zhui Yunfeng also nodded his head with conviction. Neither of them would doubt their own child. Even if Jian Wushuang seemed a little extraordinary, they would still recognize Jian Wushuang as their child. Alright, it isn't early now. Let's get some rest, Zhui Yunfeng said lovingly. You too. Luo Xinqin smiled sweetly and both of them fell asleep soon after. In a huge mansion, many experts from the Zhuge family had gathered together. However, regardless of if they were experts from Zhuge family or Elder Chen and others from Dongzhou sect, they all looked extremely bitter. We have failed. To annihilate Lin family, our Zhuge family planned meticulously for years. We even hired the Xiang family without regard for the cost. Yet, we returned in defeat because of a brat that isn't 20 years old. Even the ancient elder died in that battle. Zhuge Yuanchong clenched his fist tightly. His razor-sharp fingernails even sunk into his flesh and blood was oozing out. The experts from the Zhuge family exchanged glances and shook their heads. Jian Wushuang. It's all because of Jian Wushuang. Zhuge Hong bellowed. Although he hadn't participated in that battle, he had been watching it from afar. He knew what had happened in that battle. Initially, Our Zhuge family was about to annihilate the Lin family with the Xiang family. In the end, Jian Wushuang stepped in and all our efforts went to waste. He even killed the ancient elder. Jian Wushuang must die. Zhuge Hong growled. Don't be rash, Elder Qin interjected. What? Elder Qin, could it be you are saying Jian Wushuang shouldn't be killed? Zhuge Hong looked over. The experts of the Zhuge family, including Zhuge Yuanchong, also turned to Elder Qin. Jian Wushuang had killed Zhuge Yun and numerous experts from the Zhuge family. This had made their efforts over the years to go down the drain. They naturally wanted revenge and to have Jian Wushuang killed. You are right, Jian Wushuang should die. However, that's only if there's an opportunity. It isn't just you guys that want him killed. However, we aren't capable of killing Jian Wushuang now. At the very least, with our strength and even if we can count on the Xiang family, it won't be enough. As for requesting our sect to send more experts, that's not possible. Our Dongzhou sect has a pact with other sects and can't send that many experts in a conflict between families. In other words, we can't do anything to Jian Wushuang now. However, Jian Wushuang has the ability to annihilate the Zhuge family or even all of us. Elder Qin said solemnly. Chapter 2346. Hatred. Elder Qin's words plunged the experts of the Zhuge family into silence. They didn't want to admit it, but what Elder Qin had said was the truth. If it was just the Zhuge family, killing Jian Wushuang would be impossible. However, if Jian Wushuang wanted to deal with the Zhuge family, it would be too easy. If he joined any sect and requested for the Zhuge family to be annihilated, it would be a nightmare for them. Elder Qin, do you have an opinion? Zhuge Yuanchong looked over. Simple. Your Zhuge family shall forget the hatred you have for Jian Wushuang and never speak of revenge again. In fact, if possible, it would be best for you to head over personally and apologize to Jian Wushuang, Elder Qin said. Apologize? Impossible. Zhuge Hong exploded. Jian Wushuang killed so many experts of our Zhuge family and our ancient elder even died at his hand. Not seeking revenge is one thing, but now we have to apologize to him? If this gets out, won't our Zhuge family lose all face? Elder Qin squinted his eyes and didn't say another word. As for Zhuge Yuanchong, his views and exposure weren't ordinary as the family head. Hearing Elder Qin, he pondered for a moment before speaking. Forgetting the hatred shouldn't be an issue. Our Zhuge family doesn't have the strength to seek revenge against him as well and naturally won't go and offend him. However, if we have to apologize to him, we aren't at that stage yet. Family head Zhuge, are you thinking of Xiang family? Elder Qin looked over. Yeah. Zhuge Yuanchong nodded. In this battle, it isn't just our Zhuge family that has suffered huge losses. The Xiang family has as well. Similarly, Xiang family lost a divine demon to Jian Wushuang and the Xiang family will definitely hate him to their cores. Moreover, different from our Zhuge family, Xiang family is standing at the top of the 6 elite families in Anzhou Prefecture. They are also more overbearing in their actions. Also, the Golden Cauldron sect that is behind the Xiang family is very dominant. From what I understand, a genius from the Xiang family joined Golden Cauldron sect years ago. He's probably an enforcement elder in Golden Cauldron sect by now and happens to be the biological younger brother of the divine demon that Jian Wushuang killed. Summing everything up, Xiang family will definitely not let this rest because of Jian Wushuang's talents. If I'm right, that enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect that is from Xiang family will definitely attend to this personally. An enforcement elder from the Golden Cauldron sect? Elder Qin squinted his eyes. Although the Golden Cauldron sect wasn't the most elite sect in the Wuxia Baron region, it was still stronger than the Dongzhou sect. An enforcement elder in Golden Cauldron sect wouldn't be considered high level in Golden Cauldron sect, but they would still have a level of authority and status that an ordinary chaotic divine demon could compare with. Moreover, from what Elder Qin knew, an enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect would typically be a second-grade divine demon. In other words, the Xiang family might get a second-grade divine demon to come for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang is extremely strong. Even when facing the 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiang family, he still could kill one of them and severely injure another. Among third-grade divine demons, he is likely to be at the very top. However, if he is to compare with a second-grade divine demon, there should still be some distance. If the second-grade divine demon from Xiang family is to go all out, he will very likely be able to kill Jian Wushuang. Also, if I'm getting this right, the half-step divine demon Yan Ke that I paid a hefty sum to invite from Water Fairy Island, has probably died at his hand rather than that of the Lin family, said Zhuge Yuanchong. Yan Ke? Can't be. Jian Wushuang was just at the Pure Sun realm then. Zhuge Hong blurted out automatically. He's just an early-stage chaotic realm now, and didn't he kill chaotic divine demons easily? Zhuge Yuanchong took a glance at Zhuge Hong. Zhuge Hong was stunned but forced a bitter smile. If that is the case, the Water Fairy Island will likely have their eyes on him as well. Zhuge Yuanchong smirked and said, "In that case, I'll inform Water Fairy Island about Jian Wushuang. I believe they will be very interested in him as well. And once he is targeted by the second-grade divine demon from Xiang family and Water Fairy Island, he will most likely meet a sorry end. At that time, our Zhuge family can just watch from the side. If Jian Wushuang dies, everything will be resolved and our revenge will have succeeded. However, if he survives under such circumstances, we will visit them the very next day to apologize personally." Upon hearing this, the other experts in the Zhuge family exchanged glances and nodded their heads forcefully. Indeed, if the Zhuge family lowered their heads and apologized to Jian Wushuang now, they would lose all face. However, if Jian Wushuang survived the second-grade divine demon from Xiang family and Water Fairy Island, all the other families in Anjiu Prefecture would only see it as a natural thing to do. They wouldn't mock the Zhuge family. This was because Jian Wushuang would truly be someone they couldn't afford to offend then. Let's go with this for now. Relay the message to all experts and disciples in our Zhuge family to be more honest in their actions for now, Zhuge Yuanchong instructed. Yes. Just as Zhuge Yuanchong had expected, the Xiang family was raging with anger. Many experts in the Xiang family were vengeful. This time the Xiang family had suffered huge losses. It was especially so as a chaotic divine demon had been killed. Even for the Xiang family this was a huge blow. Family head, we have heard from Xiang Yi. He's currently on dangerous ground with several other divine demon realm experts. He has to finish the mission issued by Golden Cauldron sect before he can return, the divine demon realm burly old man said. Did he say how long he would take? Xiang Zong asked. His sister's death is a huge blow for him. His killing intent is alarming. Once he's finished the mission, he will not return to Golden Cauldron sect. Instead, he will rush here immediately. Also, those divine demon realm experts that were with him for the mission might come along as well. In terms of timing, he said it would take 3 months at the very most. If he is lucky, he could be back at Xiang family within 2 months, the burly old man said. 3 months? Alright then. We will wait patiently for 3 months. Once Xiang Yi returns after 3 months, we will kill our way into Lin Mansion and shred Jian Wushuang into 1,000 pieces to appease the experts from our Xiang family that died in battle. However, we must send people to keep an eye on Jian Wushuang, especially those whom he has gotten in contact with. I'm worried he might join some sects in the 3 months. Once he has the protection of a sect, it won't be that easy for us to deal with him. Chapter 2347. Secret skills mastered. From this day onwards, the Xiang family paid careful attention to Jian Wushuang's whereabouts. However, shortly after that battle ended, Jian Wushuang shut himself away in cultivation. He was still in the Lin Mansion but had gone to Lin Taifeng to request some cultivation resources that he required. The Lin Mansion felt sincere gratitude toward Jian Wushuang. Now that Jian Wushuang had requested some cultivation resources, Lin Mansion naturally tried their very best to gather them. After a few days, Lin Mansion completed gathering these resources. Relying on these resources, Jian Wushuang started cultivating the secret skill of 7-star, Punisher God and Exquisite Pagoda. Time passed rapidly and soon it was 3 months later. Within the meeting hall of Lin Mansion. Over the last 3 months, the Zhuge family has been a lot more honest and not resorted to any underhanded means. Moreover, they have been restricting their disciples and experts, Lin Ao commented. They aren't silly and know that if they continue in this way, they'll perish with the Lin family, Lin Taifeng sneered. Although the Zhuge family doesn't seem to be doing anything, the Xiang family has been active over this period, Lin Ao reported. Xiang family? Lin Taifeng was surprised. Compared to the Zhuge family, he was more fearful of the Xiang family. After all, the Xiang family had a deep background and was considered to be among the top of the 6 elite families. They were also substantially stronger than the Zhuge family and Lin family. Moreover, the Xiang family had always been domineering. Now that they had suffered under Lin family, it would probably not be possible for them to let this slide. At this moment, swoosh, a figure darted in. Family head, we have got news from the Xiang family that Xiang Yi is back, Lin family's elder reported anxiously. Xiang Yi? Lin Taifeng's expression darkened instantly. Xiang Yi from the Xiang family? Fire Fairy also furrowed her brows. I heard of Xiang Yi previously. He's an enforcement elder of the Golden Cauldron sect and a true second-grade divine demon. Second-grade divine demon? All the experts around gasped in surprise. In a place like Anzhou Prefecture, a chaotic divine demon would be an overlord-like existence. Even within the Wuxia Baron region they could be considered experts. This was because they were only a handful of experts that were above the chaotic divine demon realm. However, chaotic divine demon realm could also be separated into distinct classifications. For example, the lowest level would be 3rd grade divine demon. This was the most ordinary divine demon, and divine demon realm experts in various families of Anzhou Prefecture were almost certainly 3rd grade divine demons. For example, the one in charge of Zhuge family and Lin family would be at this level. Lin Taifeng could barely be considered an elite among 3rd grade divine demons. As for 2nd grade divine demons, they were above 3rd grade divine demons. Their overall strength was substantially stronger as well. As for 1st grade divine demons, they were even more powerful. In various sects throughout the Wuxia Baron region, 1st grade divine demons were extremely rare. They were all influential figures possessing great authority. Also, there seemed to be a class known as strongest divine demon above the 1st grade divine demon. It was just that they were pathetically few and therefore the classification wasn't often used. Without a doubt, a 2nd grade divine demon would be invincible in a place like Anzhou Prefecture as long as the commandery governor didn't get involved. Xiang Yi is definitely after Jian Wushuang. This is going to be trouble, Lin Taifeng commented solemnly. The experts around Zhui Yunfeng were equally distraught. Quick! Let's inform Jian Wushuang first. Ask him to stop his private cultivation and come out, Lin Taifeng instructed. Jian Wushuang had been in secret room in Lin Mansion for the last 3 months. Although he had his eyes shut, he wore a faint smile. Moreover, within his consciousness sea where boundless soul power gathered, a transparent and exquisite pagoda was forming gradually. The pagoda wasn't huge but had enclosed all of Jian Wushuang's soul power. If there was an incoming soul attack, it would have to break the defense of the pagoda first. However, the defense of the pagoda was extremely tough. The exquisite pagoda is the move that focuses on soul defense among the 5 great secret skills of the 7-star Black Sect. Although this is just the first tier and is only capable of preliminary soul defense, it will be sufficient to deal with soul attacks from some experts. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and his smile deepened. For cultivators, the soul was the core. The protection of one's soul was naturally an essential thing. In his previous life, he had tried all means to increase the defense of his soul. In the end, he had obtained the 5-gem armor and soul-swallowing pearl. Those had greatly enhanced his soul defense and therefore allowed him to run amok easily. In this life, despite losing his treasures, his soul defense could be considered powerful with just the exquisite pagoda. Other than the exquisite pagoda, I have also mastered the first scroll of secret skill of 7-star with those cultivation resources. In the aspect of Punisher God, I could also form a god statue of 1,000 feet. With both secret skills, my battle strength has increased exponentially. Also, in the 3 months of cultivation, my divine power has become purer and powerful. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and was feeling the visibly stronger power he possessed. Undoubtedly, he was way stronger than he had been 3 months ago. If he had been feeling some stress facing the 3 divine demons from the Xiang family previously, it would be like a walk in the park now. At this moment he received a message from his father. Oh, there's news from the Xiang family? Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow and left the secret room for the meeting hall. In the meeting hall, numerous experts of the Lin Mansion, including some experts that were invited, had gathered. Naturally, a large number of experts had left after receiving the promised remuneration for the battle against Zhuge family. Among them was the Mad Lion. Father. Jian Wushuang walked to Zhui Yunfeng and greeted him. As for the rest, he simply glanced at them in a gesture of acknowledgement. No one in the meeting hall would find Jian Wushuang to be arrogant. Nephew Wushang. Lin Taifeng was the first to speak. You spent the last 3 months cultivating behind closed doors. Now that you are out, I believe you are a lot stronger than before, right? Everyone in the meeting hall turned towards Jian Wushuang. For an ordinary cultivator, 3 months was an extremely short period. It was impossible to achieve huge improvements within 3 months. However, Jian Wushuang was different. He was an unprecedented demon-like genius. Although only 3 months had passed, the experts were expecting a surprise from Jian Wushuang. I guess a little? Jian Wushuang answered directly. Only a little? Lin Taifeng was visibly disappointed. Chapter 2348. Come out and die. Lin Taifeng was hoping Jian Wushuang could make some advancements in the 3 months. For example, if he made a breakthrough in his cultivation base to the middle stage chaotic realm, he would have some means to go against Xiang Yi. However, it was clear that he was a little too optimistic. Giving it more careful thoughts, no matter how demon-like a genius was, how great of an advancement could he get through closed-door cultivation within a short period of 3 months without any major chance encounter? Why is everyone looking so worried? Has something bad happened? Asked Jian Wushuang casually. Nephew Wushuang, we have just received news that Xiang Yi is back, answered Lin Taifeng. Xiang Yi? Jian Wushuang was puzzled and clearly had not heard of Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi is a genius of Xiang family that headed for the Golden Cauldron sect a long time ago. He's now an enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect and a true second-grade divine demon, Zhui Yunfeng explained. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. It was not surprising that everyone in the Lin Mansion would be so concerned about a second-grade divine demon returning. In the previous battle, although Jian Wushuang had been able to kill one of the 3 divine demon realm experts who had teamed up against him, it didn't mean that he was able to match a second-grade divine demon. Is Xiang Yi coming for me? Asked Jian Wushuang. Yeah. It isn't just that. Based on the information we have gathered, there will be several other divine demon realm experts from Golden Cauldron sect that will be returning with Xiang Yi. If things go as expected, they will make a move soon and head for Lin Mansion, Lin Taifeng remarked. Oh, that will really be a little troublesome, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. A second-grade divine demon would be much stronger than a third-grade divine demon. If he had to face a second-grade divine demon alone, he would experience some pressure as well. Moreover, several other divine demon realm experts from the Golden Cauldron sect would be with Xiang Yi as well. Wushuang, there should be 2 paths ahead of you now. A gentle voice sounded and it was Fire Fairy who was speaking. First, you can take your parents and leave the Lin family and Anjiu prefecture immediately. This is a personal feud between the Xiang family and you after all. Since you have not offended Golden Cauldron sect directly, they won't go after you with all their strength. All you need to do is to avoid them for some time and they won't do anything to you. Second, you can agree to our Thunder Sound sect's invitation. The conditions haven't changed. I can send a message to the higher management of our Thunder Sound sect to get them to send experts over as soon as possible. Even if they can't make it in time, he'll get our sect leader to send a message to the Golden Cauldron sect to protect you. Although our Thunder Sound sect might not be comparable to the Golden Cauldron sect, they will likely respect us for such a small matter if our sect leader requests for it personally. This would be your final 2 options. Even if you want to join other sects, there will probably be insufficient time. Fire Fairy's analysis was on point and the surrounding crowd nodded in agreement. From their perspectives, these were the only 2 options left for Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang shook his head after listening to Fire Fairy. The first option is no different from acting like a defeated dog. As for the second option to join Thunder Sound sect, there isn't such a need there either. Wushuang? Fire Fairy was slightly surprised. Shuang. Zhui Yunfeng couldn't help but look at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, It's just Xiang Yi, he still can't force me to flee. There's no need for Thunder Sound sect's protection either. If he wants to kill me he can just come for me. Everyone in the hall was puzzled. Wushuang, this concerns your life. You shouldn't joke about it. Moreover, Xiang Yi is a true second-grade divine demon and is a lot stronger than the third-grade divine demon you fought previously. Fire Fairy tried to convince Jian Wushuang. I understand. However, I know what I'm doing. If I really am not a match for Xiang Yi, it won't be too late to join Thunder Sound sect then, Jian Wushuang commented casually. But, Fire Fairy wanted to say something but gave up after thinking about it. Since you are so confident, I won't try to convince you otherwise. Family head. The elder from Lin Mansion entered again and reported, We have news on the Xiang family. Xiang Yi and a few others from Golden Cauldron sect are heading our way under the leadership of Xiang Zone. So soon. Lin Taifeng was astounded. He just arrived in Xiang Mansion today and he's already heading for our Lin Mansion? He gnashed his teeth before continuing, Relay my orders. Inform all our Lin Mansion experts to get ready for battle. Yes. That Lin Mansion elder sent down the message swiftly. Nephew Wushuang, this incident started because of Lin Mansion. Our Lin Mansion won't leave you aside. We will definitely stand with you, said Lin Taifeng. Thank you, Uncle Lin. Jian Wushuang smiled with gratitude. However, he wasn't too concerned. Those that were coming for him were just experts at the chaotic divine demon realm. Jian Wushuang wouldn't care even if he did not have help from the Lin Mansion. In the Lin Mansion, everyone looked extremely solemn. Only the party involved, Jian Wushuang, appeared to be casual and at ease. He sat on the chair, closed his eyes to rest and didn't seem to be panicking at all. Seeing this, the experts in Lin Mansion could only whisper in secret. Half a day later. They are here. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes abruptly and looked out to the faraway sky. Through his soul power, he sensed the arrival of several powerful auras. Other experts in Lin Mansion sensed them soon after. Jian Wushuang, come out and die. An angry roar reverberated through the sky above Lin Mansion. The voice was deafening and everyone within the Lin Mansion could hear the angry roar clearly. Who are you? How dare you try to provoke young Master Wushuang? Young Master Wushuang is someone who can even easily kill chaotic divine demons. Even our family head treats him with the utmost respect. Which unruly and ignorant fool dares to make young Master Wushuang come out and die? Quick, let's go take a look. Numerous experts and disciples of Lin Mansion were alarmed. Many of them moved and appeared in the sky. These experts and disciples from Lin Mansion were all glowering at the few people who had gathered before the Lin Mansion's main doors. Since the huge battle 3 months ago, Jian Wushuang's standing in Lin Mansion had reached an unbelievable level. Almost all the disciples and even experts of the Lin Mansion had the utmost fear and respect for Jian Wushuang. And now, hearing others shamelessly ask Jian Wushuang to come out and die, these disciples of Lin Mansion were naturally enraged. Chapter 2349, Jian Wushuang and Xiang Yi in the air before the Lin Mansion's doors. A total of 8 figures stood upright. Other than Xiang Zong, the family head of Xiang family, and that burly old man, the remaining 6 were all wearing uniform golden robes. At the back of the golden robes and between their 2 sleeves, there was an embroidered picture of a small black cauldron. The small cauldron was the identifying symbol of the Golden Cauldron sect. Clearly, 6 of them were from the Golden Cauldron sect. Moreover, judging from the auras that were emanating from them, they were all chaotic divine demons. It was especially so for an ominous-looking young man with black hair and a bald man carrying a saber. The auras from the 2 of them overwhelmed everyone around. Without a doubt, they were second-grade divine demons. That ominous-looking young man with black hair was none other than Xiang Yi from the Xiang family. There are 2 second-grade divine demons? Jian Wushuang and the other experts of Lin Mansion appeared before the mansion's door. Sensing the powerful auras of the 6 Golden Cauldron sect experts, many Lin Mansion experts paled. Even Jian Wushuang furrowed his brows. If there was only 1 second-grade divine demon, he wouldn't be that worried. However, if both of them teamed up, he would probably be under pressure. Although the remaining 4 were 3rd-grade divine demons, their auras weren't ordinary. 2 of them weren't inferior to Lin Taifeng. Clearly, they were also the most elite 3rd-grade divine demons. This lineup was extremely strong and it would be easy for them to sweep through any family in Anjiu Prefecture. This looks like trouble. Lin Taifeng was flabbergasted as he stared deadly at the 8 chaotic divine demons. Although he knew the answer, he still asked, Xiang Zong, what does your Xiang family want? What do I want? Hehe. Xiang Zong replied with a cold smirk. Lin Taifeng, we will put aside the feud between our Xiang family and Lin Mansion. Today we are here for him. Jian Wushuang. So you are Jian Wushuang? Xiang Yi's eyes were chilling as he turned to face Jian Wushuang. Yeah, I am. Jian Wushuang nodded indifferently. So you are the one who killed my sister? Intense killing intention showed in Xiang Yi's eyes. If you are speaking of the divine demon realm expert that I killed from the Xiang family, you are right. I killed her, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. How dare you kill my sister? If I can't break your bones and burn you to ashes today, then my name's not Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi screeched, overwhelmed with bloodlust. Xiang Yi. Fire Fairy took a step forward and said, there must be a misunderstanding here. Jian Wushuang is a distinguished guest of our Thunder Sound sect. Could you do my Thunder Sound sect a favor today? Do a favor for Thunder Sound sect? Ah, how hilarious. What's your Thunder Sound sect? Xiang Yi scoffed. Even if he's a core disciple of Thunder Sound sect or a disciple of some elders or sect leader, he will have to die since he killed my sister. Moreover, I know he isn't related to the Thunder Sound sect. Fire Fairy, step aside now. Otherwise I'll kill you as well. Xiang Yi had been blinded by anger and wasn't afraid of Fire Fairy or the Thunder Sound sect behind her. This was important. Although Thunder Sound sect was a respectable sect, there was a huge difference between the Golden Cauldron sect and Thunder Sound sect. Xiang Yi was the enforcement elder of the Golden Cauldron sect. Why would he be bothered by the insignificant Fire Fairy? Fire Fairy's eyes turned icy cold. She took a glance at Jian Wushuang and remarked solemnly, Wushuang, I'm asking you for the last time. Are you willing to come to Thunder Sound Sect with me? She had made up her mind. Once Jian Wushuang agreed, she would protect Jian Wushuang at all costs. However, if Jian Wushuang refused, she wouldn't want to be involved in this incident. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in the Thunder Sound Sect for now. Jian Wushuang shook his head without even hesitating. Alright then. You're on your own for now. Fire Fairy was enraged and no longer cared about Jian Wushuang's life and death. She stepped aside. I'm glad you know what's the best thing to do. Xiang Yi looked mockingly at Fire Fairy before turning to Jian Wushuang. Brat, speak now. How do you want to die? Hehe. You think you can kill me? Jian Wushuang scoffed. Spare me the nonsense. If you want to kill me, just come for me. A total of 6 Divine Demon Realm experts have come from your Golden Cauldron sect. Together with the 2 Divine Demon Realm experts from Xiang family, you guys can come at the same time. At the same time? Those who heard him were shocked. Among the 8 chaotic divine demons, there were 2 second-grade divine demons, 2 elite third-grade divine demons, and the remaining 4 weren't weak at all. Jian Wushuang wanted to take them all at the same time? Was he really that confident? Thanks. You aren't qualified for us to team up against you. I alone am enough to kill you. Xiang Yi snorted and charged towards Jian Wushuang. As for those around him, none of them moved. Regardless of if they were from the Xiang family or Golden Cauldron sect, they had absolute confidence in Xiang Yi. In their eyes, Xiang Yi was more than enough to kill Jian Wushuang. It was especially so for those from the Golden Cauldron sect. They could all see that Jian Wushuang was just at the chaotic realm. Although they had heard of Jian Wushuang's strength from Xiang Zong personally, they were skeptical. After all, they had not witnessed it with their own eyes. In the air, Xiang Yi moved like a phantom. In an instant he arrived before Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he clenched his fist and an explosive power gathered in his hand. This power had the attributes of lightning. All of a sudden, the fist went straight for Jian Wushuang. Terrifying strength exploded in that instant. Completely overwhelming strength. A second-grade divine demon wasn't just better than a third-grade divine demon in the aspect of rules of order. In terms of divine power, a second-grade divine demon's divine power was purer and denser. In terms of pure strength, a second-grade divine demon would have an absolute advantage. I wonder how much stronger a second-grade divine demon is compared to a third-grade divine demon? Jian Wushuang was curious as he swung his fist. Gathering pure divine power in his palm, he lunged ahead violently and his strength exploded violently. 2 huge fists collided like 2 huge meteorites. Following a loud boom, ripples could be vaguely seen in the atmosphere. At the same time, everyone could hear the strong compression of energy. Immediately after, Jian Wushuang flew back like a cannonball. From the door of the Lin Mansion, he barely stopped even after reaching the center of the Lin Mansion. After stabilizing himself, Jian Wushuang took a glance at his right hand. He could feel pulses of pain in his arm and joints. As for Xiang Yi, he looked perfectly fine. A second-grade divine demon is indeed something. In terms of intensity of strength, he's way stronger than a third-grade divine demon, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. Chapter 2350, Hongjun Divine Rod. A meager early-stage chaotic realm can take a punch from me and survive? Your talents are indeed incredible. However, the shame is you did something you shouldn't have done and offended someone you couldn't afford to. Now die. Killing intent raged in Xiang Yi's eyes. The moment he finished his words, a dull gold rod surfaced before him. The dull gold rod was long and thin with a mysterious insignia imprinted on its body. This is? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew about the dull gold rod. He had even used it personally before, although it was just an imitation. The dull gold rod moved over a long distance and appeared before Jian Wushuang in a blink of an eye under the control of Xiang Yi's soul power. Immediately after, the dull gold rod was like a majestic and huge mountain that came smashing down on Jian Wushuang ferociously. The power encompassed within the rod was sufficient to throw an ordinary third-grade divine demon into despair. Jian Wushuang was also surprised but still swung out the Blood Mountain sword in his hand at the first moment. A unique sword intention swept across and the mixed element spirit was used. That dull gold rod clashed violently onto the Blood Mountain sword, sending terrifying force through the tremors of the Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wushuang staggered back and sank to the ground. However, Xiang Yi didn't just stop there. That dull gold rod grew rapidly before smashing down on Jian Wushuang relentlessly. Strike after strike, he wasn't going to allow Jian Wushuang to catch his breath. Jian Wushuang could only use his sword technique to withstand the relentless attack of the dull gold rod. However, there was a clear difference in strength since the beginning, and the dull gold rod had an emphasis on absolute strength. Under these conditions, Jianghu Shuang had a hard time withstanding the attacks. Da, 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 da. The numerous violent clashes threw Jianghu Shuang into a building within Lin Mansion, destroying everything in the process. However, Xiang Yi didn't just stop there. Die, die. Xiang Yi's eyes had turned blood red. Brutality and craziness were gleaming in his eyes, and he continued smashing down on Jianghu Shuang with his dull gold rod. Terrifying explosions erupted, and everyone could sense the immense power encompassed within the dull gold rod. Shuang. Nephew Wu Shuang. Zhui Yunfeng and Lin Taifeng were flabbergasted. There was nothing they could do. The duo from the Xiang family and the remaining experts from the Golden Cauldron sect had intercepted them a long time ago. There was no way Zhui Yunfeng and Lin Taifeng could find an opportunity to interrupt. Fire Fairy, is there something you can do? Asked Lin Taifeng. At this juncture, they could only hope the Thunder Sound sect could help Jianghu Shuang. Lin family head, you should know about the circumstances of our Thunder Sound sect. We extended our invitation multiple times, but Jianghu Shuang chose to refuse each time. There's no reason for the Thunder Sound sect to step in. Moreover, even if our Thunder Sound sect were to step in at this juncture, it would be too late. The Golden Cauldron sect has sent 2 second-grade divine demons here. There's nothing I can do, Fire Fairy answered honestly. She really wanted to bring the absolute talent Jianghu Shuang back to Thunder Sound sect. If Jianghu Shuang had accepted the invitation at the beginning, she would have tried her best to come up with something. It was a shame that Jianghu Shuang had chosen to reject her offer. Now that Jianghu Shuang was in a difficult situation and Xiang Yi clearly wouldn't stop, she couldn't save Jianghu Shuang even if he agreed to join Thunder Sound sect. As such, the only feeling she had for him was pity. An unprecedented talent is going to be wasted here. Fire Fairy sighed emotionally. You can't really blame me for it. He's just too conceited. If he had chosen to join a sect earlier, he wouldn't be in this predicament. At this moment, the relentless attacks from the dull gold rod finally came to a halt. Xiang Yi stood upright and had the dull gold rod beside him. He was looking down to the ground in front of him. At that place, the initial building, including the other structures around it, had been reduced to powder under his crushing divine power. The surface of the ground had been destroyed and replaced by a large pothole. The surface of the pothole wasn't smooth, clearly suggesting it wasn't caused by a single impact but continuous domineering strength. Everyone focused on the pothole. Is Jianghu Shuang dead? Many people had this thought in mind. Obviously many were in shock. He's too strong. Is this the strength of a second-grade divine demon? A second-grade divine demon is way stronger than a third-grade divine demon. Jianghu Shuang could kill third-grade divine demon and would be considered really strong. However, the difference between a second-grade divine demon and him is still too huge. Many people were whispering and feeling a little despondent. They were sad to see a true demon-like genius meet his end here. Just as almost everyone was certain that Jianghu Shuang had fallen under the barrage of rod attacks. Rumble. Beneath the pothole, debris scattered fiercely and a figure rose from the bottom gradually. Soon he was standing before Xiang Yi again. How can this be possible? Staring at Jianghu Shuang, Xiang Yi was in disbelief. To take revenge for his sister, he was seething with killing intent. Previously, he had gone all out and had maximized the power in each relentless attack. Under such terrifying attacks, even if he managed to survive, Jianghu Shuang should at least be severely injured. However, the current Jianghu Shuang looked a little wretched with some blood at the edge of his mouth, but his aura had not seemed to weaken at all. Clearly, he had not sustained considerable injuries during the relentless barrage of attacks. The surrounding crowd was equally astounded. In their eyes, even a third-grade divine demon's self-defense mechanism would have given way under that barrage of attacks. However, Jianghu Shuang was just an early-stage chaotic realm. Not only had he survived, he had only sustained light injuries. What they didn't know was that although Xiang Yi's attacks were strong, the true impact of them that reached Jianghu Shuang was limited. Together with Jianghu Shuang's self-defense mechanism, his holy body was way above the level of an ordinary third-grade divine demon even without wearing armor. How could the holy body of a perfect chaotic life form be so easily damaged after mastering the first scroll of the immemorial celestial body? If I'm not mistaken, you are using the Hongjun divine rod. Jianghu Shuang was staring at Xiang Yi, or more accurately, the dull gold rod before him. The Hongjun divine rod was a weapon that shared the same fame as the Hongjun golden swords. They could be manipulated with soul power. In his previous life, Jianghu Shuang had encountered Long Qi in the 8th layer. From Long Qi he had obtained an imitation of Hongjun golden swords. At that time, in order for him to master the Hongjun golden swords, Long Qi had given him the imitation Hongjun golden swords to practice with. Chapter 2351. Restraint. The Hongjun divine rod emphasized power. It was domineering and extremely powerful. As for Hongjun golden swords, they focused on speed. When combined with spacetime rules of order, their movements would be unpredictable and extremely creepy. They were similarly made weapons, but their natures were completely different. In his previous life, Jian Wushuang had killed many experts by manipulating the Hongjun golden swords. And now, the first second-grade divine demon that he had encountered was able to use the Hongjun divine rod. Looks like I have underestimated you. It doesn't matter though. You are still going to die. Die. Xiang Yi's voice was icy cold, and the dullish gold long rod before him shot out once again. When I got reincarnated, I lost all my treasures, including the Hongjun golden swords. Otherwise, I could try using them against the Hongjun divine rod, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. Seeing the dullish gold long rod striking towards him once again, he was fearless. Boom. The imposing figure of the rod was like the tail of a serpent dragon that swept onto Jian Wushuang's body directly. However, it didn't hit anything material. Clearly, this was just an illusion that Jian Wushuang had left behind after grasping the spacetime rules of order. As for the real Jian Wushuang, he had moved away like a phantom. Just like a phantom, Jian Wushuang covered a long distance and appeared before Xiang Yi suddenly. His speed. Xiang Yi was astounded and wanted to pull back the Hongjun divine rod to defend himself. Will you make it on time? Jian Wushuang scoffed, thrusting his blood mountain sword forward. Although the Hongjun divine rod was extremely powerful, it was ordinary in terms of speed and agility. These were its weaknesses. Jian Wushuang had once practiced with an imitation of a Hongjun divine rod. Therefore he knew about these weaknesses. When manipulating the Hongjun divine rod, Xiang Yi would never reach the level of agility that Jian Wushuang had had with the Hongjun golden swords. Considering these circumstances and the fact that Jian Wushuang had grasped the spacetime rules of order, his advantage in speed and agility was more prominent. The chilling sword light pierced towards Xiang Yi's throat, and Xiang Yi clearly couldn't pull back his Hongjun divine rod in time to block the attack. However, at this very moment, Xiang Yi shouted and flexed. Immediately after, a blurry wall of energy coalesced before him. This wall was shockingly made up of his soul power. The Hongjun divine rod had to be used with one's soul power and one's understanding of rod principle to release the greatest might. Since Xiang Yi could manipulate the Hongjun divine rod to attack, he naturally specialized in the aspect of soul attack. Now, his soul power had quickly gathered to form a headless giant carrying a toothed mace. As it shouted, it smashed towards Jian Wushuang furiously. Following a loud crash, Jian Wushuang's sword strike was neutralized. At the same time, an incredible soul power swept towards Jian Wushuang's soul. However, Jian Wushuang's consciousness sea was guarded by a black exquisite pagoda. The soul power couldn't shake the exquisite pagoda by the slightest. A meager chaotic realm is so tough in the aspect of the soul as well? Xiang Yi furrowed his brows and pointed his finger at Jian Wushuang. Go! The returning Hongjun divine rod smashed towards Jian Wushuang once again. At the same time, the headless giant that had been formed from soul power also charged towards Jian Wushuang with the toothed mace. As for Xiang Yi, he kept his eyes on Jian Wushuang. He was ready to release a soul attack at any moment to exert pressure on Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang was simply too fast. The Hongjun divine rod couldn't even catch the corners of Jian Wushuang's clothes. As for the headless giant, Jian Wushuang could easily make his way around it as well. Jian Wushuang could choose to appear before Xiang Yi and engage in close combat with him. If Jian Wushuang had not successfully created the exquisite pagoda, Xiang Yi's soul attack might still have been a threat to Jian Wushuang. As for now, he couldn't shake the exquisite pagoda even a little if his soul attack was compelling. In other words, Xiang Yi's three greatest tricks: the Hongjun divine rod, the headless giant formed from soul power, and his soul attacks were completely ineffective against Jian Wushuang. As for Jian Wushuang, he was a huge threat to Xiang Yi with his incredible sword technique. Shio, shio, shio. Several rays of sword light were launched constantly. Jian Wushuang was now totally engaged in battle. Although Xiang Yi was a second-grade divine demon, he wasn't well-versed in close combat fighting skills. All of a sudden he was being pushed back by Jian Wushuang. He gave his all to continue driving the Hongjun divine rod and releasing soul attacks. However, they weren't doing anything to Jian Wushuang at all. This was, in fact, the weakness of an expert specializing in soul attack. For an ordinary expert that specialized in the soul, they could only choose to flee if their soul attack couldn't threaten the other party. Jianghu was in fact really strong. His soul could be used to attack or defend and could be considered to be close to perfection. Even if he was facing a second-grade divine demon, he could exert considerable pressure with the might of the Hongjun divine rod and the combination of the headless giant and soul attacks. For most ordinary second-grade divine demons, they could only flee in defeat. However, he happened to be fighting Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was too fast and could completely ignore the Hongjun golden rod and the headless giant. He also had a strong soul defense and wasn't afraid of Xiangyi's soul attack at all. More importantly, Jian Wushuang's close combat ability and sword principle were simply too frightening. As a second-grade divine demon, Xiangyi had some level of skill in close combat fighting. Moreover, the intensity of his power was a lot greater than Jian Wushuang. Logically speaking, he should have the upper hand. However, the reality indicated otherwise. Jian Wushuang was almost completely overwhelming him in close combat fighting. How can this be? I'm completely suppressed by Jian Wushuang? My soul attack can't do anything to him? Xiangyi's expression darkened. Previously, he had had no regard for Jian Wushuang at all. Even though Jian Wushuang had killed 2 chaotic divine demons, they had only been third-grade divine demons and there was a huge difference. Now that he was fighting Jian Wushuang personally, he found Jian Wushuang to still be miles from him. Yet Jian Wushuang was completely countering him. His attacks were rendered useless before Jian Wushuang. While he was completely overwhelmed by Jian Wushuang's close combat abilities, around the battlefield the numerous experts from Lin Mansion were completely dumbstruck. A second-grade divine demon is getting suppressed? What is this? Wasn't he enjoying a huge advantage previously? Why do I feel that Xiangyi has become a lot weaker suddenly? Most of the experts in Lin Mansion were weak and couldn't understand the reason. However, a few divine demon realm experts were aware. It wasn't that Xiangyi had become weaker. Instead, Jian Wushuang was completely countering him, rendering Xiangyi's various attacks completely useless. Chapter 2352. Increase in Cultivation Realm. In the air above Lin Mansion, a few chaotic divine demons from Golden Cauldron sect were standing in a row. At this moment they weren't looking great. Although junior brother Xiangyi's soul attack is extremely powerful and could be used for both attacking and defending, the rules of order he has grasped is inclined towards the steady and heavy earth rules of order. He shouldn't have any issue in attacking or defending. However, he is still lacking in speed and agility. If he encounters someone who specializes in speed and has a great soul defense, he might very well lose in battle. Just like we are seeing, Jian Wushuang clearly hasn't reached the level of a second-grade divine demon. Yet, he is still able to suppress junior brother Xiangyi, said the bald man carrying a saber. Senior brother Chen Yuan, we have to think of a solution soon. If we let this carry on, senior brother Xiangyi will be defeated. If a second-grade divine demon loses to an early-stage chaotic realm, it will be a great humiliation. Moreover, this might be a blow to senior brother Xiangyi's mentality and affect his future growth, a Golden Cauldron sect expert added. I know. That bald man nodded and his eyes turned chillingly cold. Forget it. He'll kill Jian Wushuang personally. Senior brother Chen Yuan? The other experts from Golden Cauldron sect looked over. However, Chen Yuan had already bolted off towards the battlefield before him. In the middle of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang was in a heated battle with Xiangyi. Jian Wushuang was casually executing his sword technique. Even so, he was forcing Xiangyi back constantly. I thought the second-grade divine demon, Xiangyi, could force me to use some of my hidden tricks. It seems like I overestimated him. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. As for Xiangyi, his face had turned red. He struggled to counterattack and had tried several times. Yet it was completely pointless. All of a sudden, boom. A terrifying aura descended violently. This aura was also at the level of a second-grade divine demon but slightly stronger than Xiangyi's. Jian Wushuang instantly understood that the other second-grade divine demon from the Golden Cauldron sect that came with Xiangyi had stepped in. His vast aura had Jian Wushuang completely surrounded. Immediately after, the bald man appeared behind Jian Wushuang and swung his saber at him. His saber was coated in blazing flames. As the saber swung, the world was swallowed in flames. More importantly, he released 7 attacks in a single instant. The 7 attacks were released almost at the same time and each strike was extremely domineering. Sensing the threat behind him, Jian Wushuang turned around immediately. A unique sword intention was released and his body seemed morph into a huge vortex capable of devouring heaven and earth. Sword Principle Shen Luo, a mixed element spirit. Da, 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 da. 7 intense clashes reverberated across the atmosphere. After each clash, Jian Wushuang could feel his arm going a little more numb. After 7 strikes, Jian Wushuang was sent flying. This strength is even greater than Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi specialized in soul attacks and manipulating the Hongjun divine rod from a distance to launch his attack. However, this bald man probably specializes in close combat. His saber skills are like blazing flames and are truly incredible. Jian Wushuang looked over once he had stabilized himself. Senior brother Chen Yuan. Xiang Yi appeared beside Chen Yuan and greeted him. Junior brother Xiang Yi, let's team up and kill him. Chen Yuan got straight to the point. Team up. Xiang Yi furrowed his brows. He would rather kill Jian Wushuang personally to avenge his sister. However, after the previous battle, he could tell he couldn't kill Jian Wushuang in a solo battle. In fact, Jian Wushuang could even defeat him. If that were the case. All right. Xiang Yi nodded solemnly. The surrounding crowd from Lin family were flabbergasted to witness it. Scumbags. 2 second-grade divine demon teaming up against an early-stage chaotic realm. Since when did the people from Golden Cauldron sect become so shameless? Lin Taifeng berated. Shuang. Zhui Yunfeng stared deadly at Jian Wushuang. He could tell the current Jian Wushuang wasn't feeling any fear or trepidation. Instead, he was still as calm and composed as ever. If this had happened in the past, he would definitely have been extremely anxious even if Jian Wushuang displayed the same composure. However, if Shuang is really what Xinqing guessed and is reincarnated from a supreme expert, the current crisis before him really won't amount to anything. Let's hope this is the case. Zhui Yunfeng could only pray in his heart. Even Lin Taifeng and other divine demon realm experts couldn't interfere in the battle. He was just a half-step divine demon and the one facing the danger was his son. There was nothing he could do to help. Nonetheless, Zhui Yunfeng had got it right. The current Jian Wushuang was fearless. So what if there were 2 second-grade divine demons? This will make things a little more interesting. Jian Wushuang chuckled and wiggled his index finger to taunt Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi. Both of you? Show me what you've got. Preposterous. Xiang Yi was infuriated. Brat, you are too brazen. Chen Yuan was also a little enraged. He glanced at Xiang Yi, who was next to him, and said, Junior brother Xiang Yi, let's go with the coordination that we used in that perilous land previously. All right, Xiang Yi nodded his head. Whoosh, whoosh. Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi moved at the same time. Chen Yuan charged towards Jian Wushuang while Xiang Yi retreated further back. However, as he retreated, he controlled his Hongjun divine rod to strike Jian Wushuang with compelling might. One close and one far. One is specialized in close combat fighting while the other controls the Hongjun divine rod from a distance while using a soul attack to complement each other? With 2 second-grade divine demon teaming up and cooperating, it seems like I will have to use some of my tricks. In the next instant, star power gushed out from Jian Wushuang's body. His star power had long fused into his divine power and bloodline. Now that he was triggering them, his divine power was morphing instantly. What others could sense was that the aura around Jian Wushuang had become visibly stronger. Previously, he had been at the level of an early-stage chaotic realm or, at the very most, the peak early-stage chaotic realm. Now, his aura was rising rapidly to the middle-stage chaotic realm. From that point he grew a little stronger before stopping. From early-stage chaotic realm to middle-stage chaotic realm. So the first scroll of the secret skill of 7-star can raise half a cultivation realm? This feels pretty good. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and revealed a sinister smile. Chapter 2353. One close, one far. The secret skill of 7-star could increase one's cultivation realm. Although Jian Wushuang had only mastered the first scroll, it allowed anyone below the Undying Saint to raise their cultivation realm by half a level. One shouldn't underestimate this half a level as it was extremely important to a cultivator. For example, Jian Wushuang was an early-stage chaotic realm initially. After the increment he would be at the middle-stage chaotic realm. This advancement was a material improvement to Jian Wushuang's strength. At the very least, he was a lot stronger in the aspects of power and strength. Previously, even with the immemorial celestial body, I was still far from an ordinary third-grade divine demon in terms of power and strength. However, the current me won't be any weaker than an ordinary third-grade divine demon now that I've reached middle-stage chaotic realm. In fact, he'll be considered extremely strong among third-grade divine demons. Jian Wushuang smiled. Regardless of his understanding in sword principle, sword technique, or grasp over rules of order, he was way stronger than a second-grade divine demon. However, his only weakness was the stark difference in his power and strength. Now, with the help of secret skill of 7-star, his cultivation realm had been raised and his power and strength were extensively increased. Although he was still slightly inferior to a second-grade divine demon, the difference was no longer that huge. Let me see how strong a second-grade divine demon really is. Jian Wushuang laughed out loud and his body started flickering. He darted forward and charged towards Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan had been locked onto Jian Wushuang all along. When Jian Wushuang's aura strengthened, he noticed it as well. His aura strengthened? And by a huge amount to the middle-stage chaotic realm? This isn't a breakthrough. It's probably due to him casting some unique secret skills. Chen Yuan furrowed his brows. A secret skill that could temporarily increase his cultivation realm? This was uncommon in the entire Wuxia Baron region, let alone Golden Cauldron sect. This brat must be harboring some huge secrets. Chen Yuan confirmed his thoughts. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang clashed with Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan held his saber with both hands and his saber skills were scorching like fireballs. Once he swung his saber, the terrifying might was enough to plunge a third-grade divine demon in despair. However, Jian Wushuang was fearless. When Chen Yuan swung his saber, he did the same with his Blood Mountain sword. The moment he did, a strong gust of wind swept across. Sword Principal Shen Luo, blast rainstorm. Die now. Chen Yuan responded with a scoff. He was a second-grade divine demon and specialized in close combat fighting. Although Jian Wushuang had an extremely high understanding of spacetime rules of order and was oddly quick, he was completely inferior in terms of strength and power. Now, Jian Wushuang chose not to dodge Chen Yuan's domineering strike and relied on his superior speed to pester Chen Yuan. Instead, he foolishly tried to clash directly with his sword technique. If this wasn't courting his own death, what was it? However, the moment both of them clashed. What? Chen Yuan was shocked. He could feel a power that was not inferior to his encompassed within Jian Wushuang's sword. Indeed, the power of the strike wasn't any weaker than his. Perhaps he was not a match in the aspect of basic strength. However, Jian Wushuang's technique included his understanding of rules of order, which greatly enhanced the power of his sword techniques. Now he could face Chen Yuan directly. There's nothing impressive about the strength and power of a second-grade divine demon after all. Jian Wushuang grinned. Thanks. Chen Yuan snorted and swung out his saber 3 consecutive times. 3 scorching hot saber lights slashed out instantly. Ludicrous. Jian Wushuang sneered and swung out 3 sword lights as well. They were ordinary strikes. However, with his understanding of sword principle and application of rules of order, their might was enhanced exponentially. Da, da, da. 3 consecutive clashes pushed Jian Wushuang and Chen Yuan several steps back. However, before Jian Wushuang could stabilize himself, a powerful soul attack swept through his mind. This soul attack had probably been accumulated by Xiangyi for some time before being released in one go. As a result, it had some effects on the exquisite pagoda within Jian Wushuang's consciousness. The exquisite pagoda shook a little but quickly recovered. Jian Wushuang's consciousness wasn't affected greatly. A giant dullish gold rod descended from the sky with overwhelming momentum, seemingly aiming to decimate Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's figure flickered and the dullish gold rod pierced through his body without even touching the edges of his clothes. He is much faster than before. Xiangyi frowned. He didn't realize that the increment in the cultivation realm wasn't just limited to strength and power. Jian Wushuang's speed had changed accordingly as well. Jian Wushuang, take this strike from me. A deafening scream erupted. Unknowingly, Chen Yuan had raised the saber in his hand. His saber had turned entirely red and its surroundings seemed to be shrouded in a layer of scorching hot flames. The aura around him bubbled and even his hair was blown up as the fire raged. Blood fire style. Boom. Terrifying saber light descended all of a sudden. That saber light was blood red and opened up a giant river of blades instantly. As the river of blades swept across in a frenzy, the area it crossed was set ablaze. A giant sea of flames was formed instantly. Within the sea of flames, a flaming saber that spanned over 1,000 feet slashed furiously towards Jian Wushuang. The power in this strike is pretty impressive. Staring at the approaching flaming saber, Jian Wushuang became a little more serious. Immediately after, he thrust his sword forward. This strike looked ordinary and seemed devoid of all strength. However, when the edge of the sword pierced into the air, reincarnation power started spreading. Samsara. When the edge of the sword clashed with the flaming saber, none of the power spread to the surrounding area. At the moment of contact, the flames on the flaming saber began dissipating at an unbelievable speed. In just moments, the flaming saber was reduced to the most foundational divine power and saber essence. The strongest strike from Chen Yuan had been easily neutralized. As for Jian Wushuang's strike that carried the force of samsara, it continued lunging forward. The edge of the sword landed on Chen Yuan's holy body. Chen Yuan's self-defense mechanism was pretty impressive. Furthermore, the power behind the sword light had declined extensively after obliterating the flaming saber. This strike only just pierced Chen Yuan's body and didn't do much damage to Chen Yuan. However, Chen Yuan was shocked. How can this be? His strike. Chen Yuan couldn't understand what had happened in the previous strike. How had Jian Wushuang obliterated his flaming saber with a single strike? Chapter 2354. Punisher God. Chen Yuan didn't know the samsara that Jian Wushuang had cast encompassed a unique reincarnation and cycle. It could convert all matter to its primitive state. He had created this move in his previous life. Now, with extensive advancement in the reincarnation rules of order, this move had also grown exponentially more frightening. I still couldn't take him down when I teamed up with junior brother Xiangyi, and I even got injured by him? Chen Yuan's expression darkened. Everyone kill him together? Together? Hearing this, the surrounding Lin Mansion experts couldn't believe their ears. Even the 4 divine demon realm experts from Golden Cauldron sect were shocked for a moment. However, they recovered quickly and reacted. Together. 4 of them exchanged glances before charging towards Jian Wushuang while ignoring the disdainful gazes that others were throwing at them. The 6 men that came from Golden Cauldron sect were in fact in the same team and had just completed a mission in a perilous land. Although there were only 2 second-grade divine demons among the 6 of them, the other 4 weren't weak either. At the very least, the other 4 could be considered experts among 3rd-grade divine demons. 2 of them had even reached the pinnacle of the 3rd-grade divine demons. Now that 4 of them had struck together, the battle strength they could release could even bring huge threat to a 2nd-grade divine demon. 6 chaotic divine demons are teaming up against a teenager that isn't even 20 years old? Golden Cauldron sect, do you no longer care how others see you guys? Lin Taifeng berated. How would others see us? Thanks. Xiang Zong replied with a scoff. No matter where you go in this world, it's always the strongest who rule. Who cares about how others look at you? Lin Taifeng was speechless. Although the experts of the Golden Cauldron sect had gotten out of the way, Xiang Zong and the burly old man from the Xiang family were still standing there. Lin Taifeng and the rest couldn't have helped even if they wanted to. However, Jian Wushuang didn't seem flustered despite seeing another 4 divine demon realm experts joining in. As I said earlier, you guys should have come for me at the same time since the beginning. If you did, it wouldn't be as troublesome as now. Jian Wushuang sneered. As he spoke, a boundless divine power started sweeping through his body. This divine power was golden in color. As they gathered in huge amounts, a god statue shadow of over 1,000 feet was formed in the blink of an eye. The god statue shadow that appeared behind Jian Wushuang was blurry but extremely majestic. One of the 5 great secret skills of the 7-star Black Sect, Punisher God. I have only mastered the 1st tier and can now form a god statue shadow of 1,000 feet. I wonder how the 1,000 feet tall god statue shadow will enhance my strength? Carrying a little anticipation, Jian Wushuang struck. His figure flickered with the application of spacetime rules of order, making him appear extremely creepy. Before him, Chen Yuan manipulated his saber constantly. Saber light with scorching flames slashed down at Jian Wushuang relentlessly. From afar, Xiangyi also propelled the Hongjun divine rod and smashed frenziedly toward Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang just needed a slight dodge to avoid all these attacks. His instantaneous speed seems to have gotten even quicker? Chen Yuan was astounded. When Jian Wushuang successfully avoided the attacks from the 2 of them, he rushed towards the approaching quartet of divine demon realm experts immediately. In the blink of an eye, he got right in front of the 4 divine demon realm experts. Be careful. Chen Yuan shouted to remind the 4 divine demon realm experts. The 4 divine demons from the Golden Cauldron sect had also witnessed the strength displayed by Jian Wushuang previously. Naturally, they wouldn't dare to be careless. However, they had absolute confidence in themselves. All 4 of them would be considered extremely strong amongst 3rd-grade divine demons. Moreover, they were familiar with one another and cooperated well. When the 4 of them teamed up, even an ordinary 2nd-grade divine demon would avoid them. They truly weren't afraid of Jian Wushuang. Kill him. Brat, die. You are too full of yourself. 4 divine demon realm experts struck one after another. One waved his long whip that coiled around Jian Wushuang like a huge python. One thrust out a spear ferociously, wanting to pierce Jian Wushuang's entire body. One threw out a palm strike. With vast divine power gathering in his palm, this strike could shock heaven and earth. The last person was using a dagger. His movements were elusive and he was clearly looking for an opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Jian Wushuang. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He bolted ahead and left 2 space-time shadows behind. The attacks from the 4 divine demon realm experts descended but went through the 2 space-time shadows without hitting Jian Wushuang, or even the edge of his clothes at all. At this very moment, a brilliant sword light illuminated the area. That brilliant sword light was mesmerizing and intoxicating. The moment it appeared, even the space was affected as ripples reverberated through it. The surrounding space-time seemed to have come to a halt as well. Space-time sword principle, snow cleave. That brilliant sword light zoomed past and the 4 divine demon realm experts from the Golden Cauldron sect were shocked. The eyes of 2 of them dimmed as they fell to the ground helplessly. Although the other 2 could barely remain standing in the air, they spewed a mouthful of blood and their expressions paled drastically. Impossible. Behind Jian Wushuang, the approaching Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi were flabbergasted. How could he be so strong? Those from the Lin mansion were equally dumbfounded. In a single strike, he had killed 2 and severely injured another 2 divine demon realm experts. What was this power? What kind of strength did he possess? This is indeed worthy of being one of the 5 great secret skills of the 7-star Black Sect. Although I have only mastered the first tier and can only form a god statue shadow of 1,000 feet, the enhancement to my strength is so massive. Based on my estimation, both the intensity of my power, speed and many other aspects have doubled. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Twice as strong as before. 4 divine demon realm experts. A 10% to 20% increase in strength would already be considered outrageous. Having a 100% increase would have drastic changes to Jian Wushuang's strength. This is just the first tier. Once I have mastered the 3rd tier and form a god statue shadow of 100,000 feet, I can also use various other attacking means of Punisher God like Punisher's Hell and Punisher God Annihilation. At that time, my battle strength will be even greater. Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. What he didn't know was that it was impossible for him to form a 100,000 feet tall god statue shadow within a short period. After getting a sense of his own strength, Jian Wushuang looked towards the 2 Golden Cauldron sect's experts that were severely injured. Die. Killing intent gleamed in the eyes of Jian Wushuang as he darted forward. Retreat. Retreat. The 2 divine demon realm experts from the Golden Cauldron sect shouted out in horror. Chapter 2355. Clean sweep. They had been intimidated by the strength Jian Wushuang had displayed. 4 of them had teamed up previously. However, in a single strike, Jian Wushuang had killed 2 of them while also severely injuring the remaining 2. Under these circumstances, clashing with Jian Wushuang again would be no different from courting death. The 2 divine demon realm experts from the Golden Cauldron sect retreated in a frenzy to open up distance from Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, stop. Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi, who were behind Jian Wushuang, berated him. However, Jian Wushuang wasn't going to entertain them. His speed was much faster than that of the 2 divine demons that were trying to escape. Jian Wushuang appeared before a Golden Cauldron sect's expert. He swung out his sword casually and it was still snow cleave. No. After a tragic cry, the expert from the Golden Cauldron sect soon left the world and became a corpse. As for the other, he managed to escape in time and met up with Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi. The sky above Lin Mansion turned completely silent. Deadly silent. Numerous shocked people were staring at the young man holding a long sword with a god statue shadow behind him that was 1,000 feet tall. Chen Yuan, Xiang Yi, and the only one left from the Divine Demon Realm Quartet from Golden Cauldron sect, were looking extremely wretched. They had formed the team to complete the mission issued by their sect at the Perilous Land. Through the impeccable coordination, they had survived several hidden dangers lurking in the Perilous Land. In the end, they had even completed the mission issued by their sect. And now they had only come to take a look because something had happened to Xiang Yi's family. Who would have expected that the 3 of them would fall to an early-stage chaotic realm after they survived in that perilous land? Moreover, the other party still wasn't dead? In other words, the lineup of 2 2nd-grade divine demons and 4 3rd-grade divine demons had been swept by a chaotic realm. Jian Wushuang smiled and looked at the 3 surviving people. What a shame. I let one get away. Jianwu was feeling a little regretful. With his current strength, killing third-grade divine demon would only really be easy once he cast secret skill of 7-star and Punisher God. However, it might still not be possible to kill a second-grade divine demon. Therefore his objective from the beginning was not to kill Chen Yuan or Xiang Yi. Instead his targets were the 4 third-grade divine demons. He killed 3 of them consecutively. Although Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi were still around, they could no longer threaten him. Didn't you guys say you were going to kill me? Let's continue. Jianwu said mockingly. Jianwu, we admit that we underestimated you. Xiang Yi stared daggers at Jianwu. However, don't get too cocky. Do you think our Golden Cauldron sect will let you off after you killed 3 divine demon realm experts from our Golden Cauldron sect? The Golden Cauldron sect could be considered to be an extremely powerful sect with a long history. 3 divine demon realm experts dying wouldn't have meant much to the entire Golden Cauldron sect. However, the Golden Cauldron sect still couldn't pretend it was fine. Previously, Jianwu had killed an expert from the Xiang family who was the sister of Xiang Yi. This had no direct connection to the Golden Cauldron sect and therefore the Golden Cauldron sect wouldn't step in. This time, the divine demon realm experts from Golden Cauldron sect had come because they had been on a mission with Xiang Yi and happened to be on the way there. Now, Jianwu had killed 3 divine demon realm experts from Golden Cauldron sect. This was completely different in nature from before. Brat. You dared to even kill the experts from our Golden Cauldron sect. Just wait for your death. Chen Yuan also stared coldly at Jianwu. Now it was impossible for them to kill Jianwu on their own. However, the sect behind them could easily do so. Golden Cauldron sect? Jianwu chuckled nonchalantly. What can a meager Golden Cauldron sect do to me? Jianwu was confident. In his previous life he had lived for close to 100,000 years. Moreover, he was the second perfect chaotic life form in this world. His knowledge and foresight weren't something comparable to an ordinary man. The Golden Cauldron sect could be considered a large sect in the Wuxia barren region. However, a sect like this wouldn't even enter the eyes of Jianwu. Previously, he hadn't wanted to cause trouble or attract others' attention. Therefore, he had been keeping a low profile all along. Now the trouble had come to him. As such, he wouldn't be fearful of it. If it was just a Golden Cauldron sect, Jianwu would just need around 10 years for him to recover to his peak. At that time he wouldn't have to fear anything at all. Even now, even if he couldn't win and he reached a critical juncture, Jianwu wouldn't be silly. He could just choose to join a sect that was even stronger than the Golden Cauldron sect. He believed once he showed his talents that there wouldn't be a lack of sects coming to recruit him. Now it was just that he wasn't willing to join these sections. However, if he was forced into a corner and was left with no other option, he wouldn't hesitate to join. Alright. Chen Yuan chuckled out of pure anger as he repeated himself. Jianwu, just wait and see. In no time, experts from our Golden Cauldron sect will find you. At that time, I'd like to see if you will still have the same confidence as today. Let's go. Chen Yuan growled, turned around and left in a hurry. Although Xiang Yi and the 2 divine demon realm experts from the Xiang family were indignant, they were clearly aware of the current circumstances. Therefore they could only leave helplessly. However, just as they turned around and were about to leave the Lin mansion, they saw 3 figures approaching them directly. Seeing the 3 people, those from the Golden Cauldron sect and the experts from the Xiang family came to an abrupt halt. Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi focused their attention on the approaching trio. Their outfits and auras. They are from the Water Fairy Island. Chen Yuan was the first to recognize them. Why are the people from Water Fairy Island here? Xiang Yi was also confused. The Water Fairy Island was one of the 10 largest sects in the Wuxia barren region. It was also a lot stronger than their Golden Cauldron sect. Only Xiang Zong was overjoyed when he learnt the approaching trio was from the Water Fairy Island. Ah! The experts from the Water Fairy Island are finally here. Xiang Zong's eyes lit up with excitement. Previously, Xiang family had teamed up with the Zhuge family to eliminate the Lin family. They were also aware of the arrangement between Zhuge family and Xiang family, including inviting an expert from Water Fairy Island to ambush Jianwu. In the end, that expert had died. Zhuge family had long used different channels to inform Water Fairy Island of the matter. It was just that the Water Fairy Island had not taken action, but now their experts were here. Judging from their expressions, they were probably there to avenge the death of the expert from the Water Fairy Island. Chapter 2356. Experts from the Water Fairy Island. Xiang Yi, Chen Yuan. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, The three experts from the Water Fairy Island are most likely here for Jian Wushuang. A few years ago, Jian Wushuang killed a half-step divine demon from the Water Fairy Island, said Xiang Zong. So that's how it is? Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi smiled. Since they are here for revenge, we can stay for a little longer to enjoy the show. Chen Yuan smiled coldly before retreating to the empty space at one side. In the Lin mansion they were about to cheer when they thought that the experts from the Golden Cauldron sect and Xiang family were leaving. However, they soon quietened down. They had also noticed the trio from Water Fairy Island. Looking at their outfits, they are experts from the Water Fairy Island. Damn. Lin Taifeng's expression darkened and he could already foresee their objectives. The experts from Golden Cauldron sect are just about to leave and now the stronger Water Fairy Island is here? Zhui Yunfeng's expression became extremely bitter. As for Fire Fairy, she didn't say a single word. As for the Thunder Sound sect, they couldn't defend the Golden Cauldron sect. As for Water Fairy Island, it was an even larger existence. Even Jian Wushuang, who had always been calm and composed, became a little solemn upon seeing the trio from the Water Fairy Island. The trio? Jian Wushuang was staring directly at the approaching trio. The trio was made up of 2 men and 1 woman. The 2 at both sides were second-grade divine demons judging from the aura exuding from them. Moreover, they weren't ordinary second-grade divine demons. At the very least, they were a lot stronger than Chen Yuan and Xiang Yi. This wasn't the most frightening thing yet. The most frightening thing was the elder with red eyebrows standing in the middle. That elder with red eyebrows had a stoic look and a demeanor that intimidated others without showing any anger. The moment Jian Wushuang saw the elder with red eyebrows, he subconsciously felt immense pressure. This pressure was definitely not the kind an ordinary second-grade divine demon would possess. A first-grade divine demon? Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself as he furrowed his brows. Within the chaotic divine demon realm, the difference between a third-grade divine demon and a second-grade divine demon was extremely huge. Therefore, the difference between a second-grade divine demon and first-grade divine demon would only be greater. Jian Wushuang knew clearly the reason why he could sweep through the 6 men from Golden Cauldron sect was because they didn't have a powerful second-grade divine demon that could do something to him. However, in terms of real battle strength, Jian Wushuang estimated he would likely only be able to match one of the 3 experts from the Water Fairy Island even if he went all out. If that first-grade divine demon from the Water Fairy Island were to fight Jian Wushuang personally, Jian Wushuang wouldn't stand a chance. The 3 approaching figures finally stopped above the Lin mansion. Among the 3 of them, that elder with red eyebrows looked around and asked in a cold but loud voice, "Which one of you is Jian Wushuang?" "I am," Jian Wushuang answered. Although he was wary of the other party's strength, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be so intimidated as to not respond to his own name. "Did that disciple from our Water Fairy Island die at your hands?" The elder with red eyebrows fixed his eyes on Jian Wushuang instantly. At the same time, a powerful divine might weighed down on Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang wasn't an ordinary chaotic realm. If it was just a simple pressure from divine might, even an expert above the divine demon realm wouldn't affect him much, let alone a first-grade divine demon. "If that disciple you spoke of is Yen Ke, she died at my hands," answered Jian Wushuang. "A meager chaotic realm could remain so calm and composed under my divine might? That's pretty rare," the elder with red eyebrows commented. "Your Excellency, regarding Yen Ke, she was invited by the Zhuge family to kill Jian Wushuang. Therefore," Lin Taifeng attempted to speak up for Jian Wushuang. "Shut up. Since when was it your turn to speak?" The elder with red eyebrows glanced at Lin Taifeng and the same terrifying divine might shrouded Lin Taifeng. Although Lin Taifeng was a true divine demon realm expert, he clearly couldn't be as composed and calm as Jian Wushuang under the stifling pressure of that divine might. His face became flushed with blood and his breathing turned erratic. He couldn't even say a word. Having taught Lin Taifeng a lesson with just a glance, the elder with red eyebrows looked at Jian Wushuang once again. "I don't care about the reasons behind you killing Yen Quebec. However, she was a disciple of my Water Fairy Island after all and wasn't someone that could be killed casually. Since you killed a disciple from my Water Fairy Island, you will have to leave your life behind." The moment he finished his words, he reached out his palm and pointed at where Jian Wushuang was. A simple point stirred up a terrifying divine power and formed a towering finger. The giant finger carried terrifying pressure and came before Jian Wushuang in an instant. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. As the giant finger pushed towards him, he took a step forward and swung out his Blood Mountain sword at the same time. The secret skill of 7-star and Punisher God had enhanced the power behind the shocking sword essence to a ludicrous level. Following a loud boom, Jian Wushuang was knocked several steps back. However, the towering giant finger had dissipated fully. So this is the strength of a first-grade divine demon? After stabilizing himself, Jian Wushuang frowned deeper. This isn't quite right. The strength of a first-grade divine demon isn't just limited to this. He's just trying to sound me out with this strike and isn't intending to kill me. Jian Wushuang didn't sense any killing intent from the elder with red eyebrows. Moreover, he could tell that the elder with red eyebrows was holding back in this strike. Even if he failed to decimate the giant finger, it would most likely not injure him severely. Trying to sound me out instead of killing me? Jian Wushuang was puzzled and looked towards the elder with red eyebrows. However, the elder with red eyebrows revealed a deep grin at this point. Previously, someone informed me that an exceptionally demon-like talent appeared in the small Anzhou prefecture. With just a cultivation base of early-stage chaotic realm, his battle strength isn't weaker than that of an ordinary chaotic divine demon. He even killed a few chaotic divine demons. At that moment, I didn't believe it at all. Now that I'm seeing it with my own eyes, it appears that he did not lie to me. The elder with red eyebrows was clearly pleasantly surprised. He was a first-grade divine demon, and even within Water Fairy Island, he was an elite expert and part of the highest management. Yen Kei was just a half-step divine demon without any status in Water Fairy Island. Her death wouldn't have alarmed a first-grade divine demon enough to come here personally. The reason why the elder with red eyebrows had come personally was naturally for Jian Wushuang. Now that he had seen it and sounded out Wu Yu personally, the elder with red eyebrows was extremely agitated. Chapter 2357, Commandery Governor. Even though that was a very casual finger, a Tier 3 chaotic divine demon will find it difficult to stop it. However, this little one could stop it head-on. He is much stronger than what I have heard from others. He might have the fighting power of Tier 2 chaotic divine demon. And he is only in the chaotic realm? Furthermore, he is not even 20 years old yet. I have never heard of someone so insanely talented ever since I started cultivating. As compared to him, the 12 young kings from the Wuxia Barren region seemed like ordinary cultivators. The elder man with red eyebrows looked at Jian Wushuang. His eyes sparkled with desire like never before. He soon hid the desire away. He gathered himself and said to Jian Wushuang, "Little one, you have killed one of the disciples from the Water Fairy Island. By right I should kill you. However, considering that the disciple provoked you first, I will spare you life, on the condition that you will go to the Water Fairy Island with me." Go to the Water Fairy Island? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He soon thought of the reason why. The elder with red eyebrows never wanted to take revenge for the disciple he killed. He was here to recruit him. What is going on? Didn't Jian Wushuang kill one of the disciples from the Water Fairy Island? Why doesn't this Tier 1 chaotic divine demon from the Water Fairy Island seem like he is going to punish him? Xiangyi knitted his eyebrows and said, "It is normal." Chen Yuan shook his head and smiled. If I am not wrong, the disciple that Jian Wushuang killed was an ordinary in the Water Fairy Island, hence they would not care even if some of them died. They will only send in experts to resolve the problem as a way to protect their reputation. However, a Tier 1 chaotic divine demon came down personally. He is definitely not here to take revenge for the dead disciple. He probably came to recruit Jian Wushuang. Even though Jian Wushuang killed 3 junior brothers from the Golden Cauldron sect, I still have to admit that he is an incredibly talented cultivator with potential so great it is beyond our wildest imagination. It will be weird if the Water Fairy Island does not want to recruit such an incredibly talented teenager. Since the ordinary disciple already died, they will just forget about it as Jian Wushuang is far more valuable. Xiangyi nodded his head after he heard what Chen Yuan said. This is bad. If Jian Wushuang agrees to go to the Water Fairy Island with the Tier 1 chaotic divine demon, he would be one of the most influential cultivators there given his talent. The Water Fairy Island will definitely pay greater attention to him as compared to the 12 young kings. How will the Golden Cauldron sect kill him when he is under the protection of the Water Fairy Island? Xiangyi said coldly. Chen Yuan knitted his eyebrows before waving his hands and said, "Do not panic. Let's see what happens." Within the Lin mansion, many of the people understood the purpose behind the elder man's visit after hearing what he said. The experts within the Lin mansion, including Zhui Yunfeng and Lin Taifeng, heaved a sigh of relief. I thought that the expert from the Water Fairy Island was here to take revenge. Seems like I worry too much. Lin Taifeng sighed softly. Wushuang is incredibly talented. It is normal that the Water Fairy Island will pay heavy attention to him. Now, I am afraid that Wushuang will continue to be stubborn and reject the offer. Since young he prefers to cultivate freely without any restrictions at all. Zhu Yunfeng said. Reject? The Water Fairy Island is one of the top 10 clans in the Wuxia Barren region, he will reject their offer? Lin Taifeng was shocked. Zhu Yunfeng shook his head lightly. After today's battle, he was sure that the deduction his wife Luo Xinqin made was true. Jian Wushuang was highly likely a top-tier expert who reincarnated. If this was true, he knew that Jian Wushuang would not join any clan from the Wuxia Barren region, even the Water Fairy Island. Jian Wushuang would not be bothered to join it. Jian Wushuang said, I do not like restrictions. I will not go to the Water Fairy Island. Little one, it is not up to you. The elder with red eyebrows said with absolute confidence. It is not up to me? I do not think so. Jian Wushuang said as he raised his eyebrows. The elder with red eyebrows squinted his eyes. Wu Jian, since the little one is not willing to go to the Water Fairy Island, are you going to bring him there by force? A playful laugh was heard out of nowhere. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the air above the Lin mansion. It was a handsome and calm man. He wore a simple green shirt. He stood there and radiated a warm aura. When this man appeared, Lin Taifeng and the head of the Xiang family, Xiang Zong, widened their eyes in shock. In the next moment, they greeted the man in unison. Greetings, Lord Commandery Governor. The identity of the man was revealed after the greeting. Commandery Governor. The most powerful and authoritative man in the Anzhou Prefecture, the Commandery Governor. It is him. Jian Wushuang looked at the man. He was not surprised. Before he started fighting the experts from the Golden Calderon sect, his soul power could detect a faint aura hiding in the dark. Jian Wushuang had a much more powerful soul power sensory ability as compared to the rest. If not, he would not have detected the Commandery Governor. Jian Wushuang knew immediately that there was a top-tier expert hidden in the dark. Jian Wushuang also guessed that this top-tier expert was likely the Commandery Governor of the Anzhou Prefecture. After all, his job was not only maintaining peace and tranquility in the Anzhou Prefecture. He would also take note of certain geniuses, especially the very talented geniuses. If he felt that these talented geniuses had great potential, he would recommend them with his position as a Commandery Governor to the suitable clans for cultivation. If the clan was satisfied with the expert, they would reward the Commandery Governor handsomely. Jian Wushuang was already well known for his name. Furthermore, the legendary Taoist priest Xian Xin gave him the name personally. Jian Wushuang predicted that the Commandery Governor had been observing him for a very long time. However, Jian Wushuang always remained low-key and never displayed his incredible talent. This made it difficult for the Commandery Governor to make an accurate judgment of his true abilities. However, after Jian Wushuang showed his true power, during the fighting 3 months ago when he killed 2 chaotic divine demons while he was only in the chaotic realm, the Commandery Governor would definitely know of it. This time Jian Wushuang was in grave danger. Hence, the Commandery Governor had to interfere. From the start, the Commandery Governor had always been in the dark, observing. Even if Jian Wushuang did not show his true power and defeated the chaotic divine demons from the Golden Calderon sect, there was no way Xiang Yi would kill him, as the Commandery Governor would definitely save him. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.